Chapter 1 Rebirth. A scream, and Zhou Shuan jolted upright from the bed, her face ashen. After the great earthquake, the surviving humans were driven into chaos. To seize the last compressed biscuit, her boyfriend Lin Yuyang and close friend Zhao Shanshan teamed up, and plunged a sharp dagger hard into her temple, blood spurting. What's going on? I clearly already died. She looked around. The room's decor carried a strange familiarity. Thinking carefully, this seemed to be the apartment she rented off campus in her junior year. There was a pink phone on the bedside table, the same one she used in college. Later, when the apocalypse came, she went out to look for supplies during the floods, and the phone fell into the water, becoming completely ruined. She hurriedly turned on the phone. The screen clearly showed March 23, 2024, 11:12 a.m. Zhou Shuan's eyes trembled. Could it be that she had been reborn? She got out of bed and went to the balcony. Children were playing downstairs, and a group of retired elders sat not far away playing cards and chatting. How long had it been since she'd seen such a prosperous scene? Suddenly her phone rang. Zhou Shuan hurriedly answered, tears streaming down her face. Mom. She was attending university in S City down south. When the apocalypse hit, she hadn't had time to return home. At first communications didn't cut off, and she could intermittently contact her parents in J City. But later the floods came, submerging the coastal cities, and all communications and transport were paralyzed. Father spent all his money on a speedboat to go south and find her, but after that there was no more news. Mother stayed at the old family house on the 6th floor rooftop with my younger brother, because it was an old structure with a half-attic above. My cautious parents had stocked it full of supplies when the end came. Shortly after Father left, the vicious neighbor allied with a gang of ruffians and broke into the house, driving Mother and my brother out. Before long the two of them died outside because of acid rain. Their bodies gone without a trace. These were all things she heard from people downstairs after the acid rain ended, and she finally staggered back. Traveling north, she had seen too much of the apocalypse's darkness, and was no longer that naive college student. After carefully planning for several days, she killed the villains who had occupied her home and the neighboring residents, her terrifying appearance frightening many of the community's remaining survivors. She collected and buried the corpses that had been corroded by the acid rain into withered remains who might have been her mother and brother. Then resolutely left for the survivor base established by the government. It was there that she ran into Lin Yuyang and Zhao Shanshan, who had long been conspiring together, and, when the apocalypse came, stole all her supplies and drove her out of her rented room. What's wrong, sweetie? Been wronged? Had a fight with a classmate? As soon as Zhong Tiyun heard the whimper in her voice, she panicked, and even called out the nickname she used when the girl was little. No. Zhou Shuan wiped her tears and took a breath. Mom, I just missed you. I missed you so much. 8 years had passed, and she finally heard her mother's voice again. That feeling of getting back something lost could truly bring tears of joy. What do you think is the matter? You're already a junior in college and still so homesick. What will you do when you get married? Zhong Tiyun scolded. Zhou Shuan still had a nasal tone. I'm not getting married. I'll stay with you and Dad for my whole life. All right, be our forever little lady. Zhong Tiyun laughed heartily. Zhou Shuan secretly swore in her heart that for the rest of her life she would take good care of her parents and younger brother, keep all evildoers at bay, and let the whole family live happily together in the apocalypse. 1. You and Yuyang went to Hainan for a trip and probably spent most of your money, right? Your mother will transfer you some more living expenses. Only then did Zhou Shuan remember that in her previous life, after the new year, she and Lin Yuyang had gone to Hainan to travel. Lin Yuyang said his pocket money was almost gone, and that she should cover the travel costs for now. He would pay her back after they returned. Maybe because she paid. Lin Yuyang spent lavishly all the way and had high standards for food and lodging. So in just 8 or 9 days they spent more than 20,000. Plus another 10,000 for a jade Pishio pendant he had his eye on at a scenic spot. She thought the translucence was so-so and it wasn't worth the price. But Lin Yuyang asked to borrow money from her to buy it. She had no choice but to give him the last 10,000 yuan she had. Lin Yuyang was tall and handsome, but his family was ordinary. She was somewhat self-conscious about the birthmark on her face and always accommodated him. They dated for over a year, and she paid for most of it. After she was admitted to a top university, her parents held a banquet and gave her all the gift money they received, plus extra from relatives. Together it amounted to 50 to 60,000 yuan. But after they started dating, it was all squandered. This trip, although Lin Yuyang said he was just borrowing, both of them knew it was a one-way journey. Thinking of this, Zhou Shuan said, "We're out of money, Mom. Please transfer me some more. Also, I want to go with a senior in her final year to the big companies to look for internship opportunities first. I want to buy a car for convenience. Jobs are hard to come by right now. Going along early to learn from experience is good." Zhong Tianyan hesitated and said, "Buying a car is a big matter. I'll discuss it with your father when I get back. He was saying a few days ago that electric cars have come down in price. I'll have him weigh in." Okay. Over the phone, Zhou Shuan didn't know how to tell her parents about her rebirth. But stocking up on supplies was urgent, so she had to find an excuse to get them to send her more money. After hanging up, a cold smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Between this past year and the travel expenses, Lin Yuyang owed her far more than 50,000. If she couldn't get it back, she wouldn't be surnamed Zhou. Today was March 23rd. With just over 10 days before the end of the world arrived, she had to hurry to gather supplies. She turned and went into the room, changed her clothes, and was about to go out. When she passed the dressing mirror, she glanced at it, and then froze. At her left temple there had originally been a dark birthmark. It was shaped like a map of undulating mountains, about the size of a walnut, and had been there since she was born. Because of that birthmark, even though her family was relatively well off, her parents doted on her, and she was pretty. She had always been very insecure. Aside from Lin Yuyang, no one had ever pursued her from childhood to adulthood. This was probably also why she so quickly fell into the sweet words Lin Yuyang wove. But now, that birthmark was gone. What she saw was a fair, flawless cheek. Where did that birthmark go? Suddenly, in a daze, a space appeared before her eyes, about 70 or 80 square meters, square and regular, like a large white shipping container. Zhou Shuan usually enjoyed reading web novels. Looking at this strange place, she somehow immediately thought of the vanished birthmark. Could it be that her birthmark was actually a hidden space? In her past life she died from her temple being pierced and blood flowing out, so that activated this hidden space? The birthmark is just the key to enter this space? She tried putting the jacket in her hands into it. Her hand was empty, and a jacket appeared inside the space. She tried taking it out again. And in the blink of an eye the jacket reappeared in her hands exactly as it had been. Zhou Shuan restrained her inner excitement, her eyes sparkling. She had been worried that even if she knew about the apocalypse in advance and could stockpile supplies, the end times came with successive disasters. Floods, tsunamis, extreme heat, acid rain, severe cold, drought, eternal night, earthquakes. Survivors were displaced, and there was no truly safe place. Even if she and her parents had hoarded a large amount of supplies, where could they put them, and how could they protect them from cold waves and extreme heat? Now the problem was solved. As long as she confirmed the space kept things absolutely fresh, there was no need to worry about storing supplies. She took a pen and made marks, listing the in-World survival supplies in order of urgency. Then put on a mask and went out. Chapter 2: Stockpiling Supplies. The apartment complex she rented was very close to the university. It was a short walk to the college town. It was Saturday, and the college town was especially lively. Countless vibrant students strolling the streets in twos and threes, holding hands. The numerous snack shops were packed with people, the aroma of food drifting for miles. Zhou Shuan hadn't noticed at first, but the moment she caught the smell of cooking, her stomach immediately started to growl. It had been many years since she had a proper, filling meal. At the worst times even tree bark, wild roots, and rat meat had been considered supreme delicacies. Her mouth watered. She went to the wonton shop she used to frequent, and ordered a big bowl of wontons, a rujiamo, and a large plate of pan-fried buns, then began to gobble them down. God knows how, on countless hungry nights in her past life, she had longed for the taste of those wontons. When she finished eating, She packed up the remaining 4 pan-fried buns to take with her. She rode her bike to a secluded spot, put the pan-fried buns into the space, and tested how well the space preserved them. About to set off on the electric bike, a text came through, a notification that 60,000 yuan in cash had been deposited. Along with the text, there was a terse WeChat message from Mom. Go check out the model first, don't buy it. Your dad has already bought the ticket, he'll be there tomorrow. Dad's coming tomorrow? He must be worried about me and came specifically to help buy the car. Zhou Shuan felt a surge of emotion, her eyes stinging slightly. Parents are the people in this world who love you the most. In her previous life, her greatest regret was not being able to return in time to reunite with them. In this life, that regret would never happen again. She thought for a moment, and then changed her plans. She had originally planned to buy enough supplies and then return to J City, but she had no money. Tens of thousands of yuan were utterly inadequate. Since Dad is coming too, then let Mom come along as well. The 3 of them would stockpile enough supplies in S City, then return to J City, avoiding attracting attention from anyone with ill intentions. Once the apocalypse comes, communications would be cut off and transportation paralyzed, across more than 1,000 li from south to north. Even if someone noticed their large-scale stockpiling, there would be nothing they could do about it. She called her mom directly. Thanks, Mom. I received the money. Mom, could you and Dad come together tomorrow? Zhong Tian wanted to come too, but still declined. I can't. If I go, it'll be 2 or 3 days. And there's no one to take your brother to and from school. If I go, what would happen to him? Zhou Shuan had forgotten about that, thought for a moment, and then suggested, sometimes Mumu eats at Grandma Pang's. Why don't we trouble her to take him to and from school for a few days? Anyway, school would be suspended soon. Grandma Pang downstairs had been on good terms with the Zhou family for many years. She had a little brother Yu who was about 6 or 7 years older than her. When Grandma Pang couldn't look after her as a child, he would go to their house to eat. By the time Zhou Shu was attending evening classes, and her parents were busy with their business, and had no time to come home to cook, she would also go to their house to eat. They were very close, so it was completely trustworthy to entrust Mumu to each other. Zhong Tian immediately sensed something was wrong and pressed. Wan, what happened? Why do you keep wanting Mom to come over? Zhou Shuan didn't need to force sadness. Thinking of the days her family was split in her past life made her nose sting and her voice choke. Mom, it's a bit of a situation. Please come with Dad as soon as you can tomorrow. And remember to bring the family's bankbook. Zhong Tian's voice grew urgent. What is it? What exactly is it, Wan? Could it be pregnant? Then she thought that didn't make sense. Pregnancy alone wouldn't require taking the bankbook along. Mom, I'm sorry, it's a bit complicated. It's not convenient to talk on the phone. But you and Dad don't worry too much. Stay safe tomorrow. We'll talk when we meet. Zhou Shuan said that and hung up. Although she knew her parents would be very worried when they heard her words, it was also the quickest excuse to get them to come. She mentally apologized. Then changed course and first rented a warehouse. She went to the used car market and rented a rundown van, removed all the rear seats, and drove to N City's largest farmers market. On the way, her father and mother called her 5 or 6 times in succession. When she answered, she only told them to come as soon as possible, and then hung up. I walked around the farmer's market once, learned the prices, and finally chose a Rissian grain stall with the most foot traffic. With little money, I lied that I was stocking up for my family and ordered 2 tons of rice, 2 tons of wheat flour, and 2,000 jin of corn grits, sorghum flour, corn flour, red rice, black rice, koik seeds, and other mixed grains. Seeing they had millet and glutinous rice, which we eat regularly, I got 2,000 jin of each as well. There were also beans. Dad likes red bean steamed buns for New Year. Soybeans can make tofu and soy milk. And mung beans can be sprouted or cooked into mung bean soup to cool off in hot weather. These few items were used a lot, so we also took 1,000 jin of each, and the rest totaled 1,000 jin. All of these were charged at wholesale prices, and the total came to just over 30,000. The shopkeeper's wife was a straightforward person. She waved her hand and said, Nizi, you bought so much, we can't give you any more of a discount, so I'll throw in 2 extra 50 jin bags of rice. Every little bit helps. Zhou Shuan nodded happily. There wasn't actually that much after 2 trips or so, it was mostly moved. Zhou Shuan had rented a large warehouse, drove the van straight inside, locked the door, and then moved everything into the space. By now, 3 hours had passed since she put the pan-fried buns in. She took them out and they were exactly as she had left them, still giving off a faint warmth. The space could preserve freshness. A large weight in her heart finally lifted. Her mother sent 60,000 yuan, and she herself had just over 2,000 in her card. After taking care of the most important rice, flour, grains and oil, she withdrew the remaining 28,000 yuan in her account, and went to the place that sold various seasonings. Afraid that buying too much at once would arouse suspicion, she split it among several shops and first bought 500 jin of salt, then spent 5,000 yuan on various condiments, spices and other cooking needs. She ended up buying 500 jin of white sugar, costing 2,500 yuan. At that point, she had a few thousand yuan left, so she simply spent it all on soybean paste, fermented tofu, canned fish, canned meat and the like. In fact, in the late stages of the apocalypse, canned condiments and preserves like these are extremely expensive, and are what people most want to trade and stockpile. They don't spoil easily, a little added can enhance flavor, and they save on salt. In her previous life, Zhou Shuan had by chance swapped for 2 bottles of shiitake mushroom sauce and ate them very cautiously, taking a long time to finish. Only she ran out of money, so she could only drool in front of the neatly arranged shelves of various sauces and canned goods. And shelving was something she urgently needed too. Otherwise, with the already small floor area and without reasonable storage planning, it would soon be insufficient. Having firmly noted these 2 things in her mind, she started up the van and drove the fully loaded vehicle to the warehouse. She was just thinking about how to get the money back from Lin Yuyang when her phone suddenly rang. She looked and it wasn't Lin Yuyang. Zhou Shuan sneered coldly. Because she was born with a birthmark on her face, she had always been very self-conscious. So when she was accepted into a top 10 national university, and the tall, handsome student union president of the same department, Lin Yuyang, launched a fierce pursuit of her, she quickly fell for him. It wasn't until she experienced an apocalypse in a dream that she realized there was no way to see the selfish, perverted nature hidden beneath that handsome face. She pressed the answer button. Inside came Lin Yuyang's voice. "Baby, what do you want to eat tonight? I'll make something and send it over." Chapter 3 Scumbag. Lin Yuyang was very generous with himself, but stingy with others. He felt awkward always letting Zhou Shuan pay for things, so from time to time he'd steam rice and stir-fry a dish in the dorm, or make tomato and egg noodles, and ceremoniously bring them to her. He grandly called it his homely boyfriend's homemade love meal, and earned a sterling reputation. Everyone in the department, whenever they mentioned it, couldn't help but praise her, saying Zhou Shuan had gotten incredibly lucky to find such a gentle, considerate, and good-looking man who could also cook. Zhou Shuan glanced at the time and realized that, before she knew it, it was already evening. She forced down the chill in her heart and put on a fake smile. "I'm not hungry, darling, thank you. Oh, my parents said they're coming tomorrow. Let's have a meal together then, okay?" Lin Yuyang was a little surprised. "Why are they coming tomorrow?" Zhou Shuan acted coy on purpose. "Of course to see you, their future son-in-law." Lin Yuyang suddenly grew awkward. Last year Zhou Shuan's father, Zhou Jianghai, had come specifically to vet him. His expression then showed he wasn't pleased with him, and between the lines he accused him of spending girls' money. This time it was agreed he would pay. But he still found all sorts of excuses to make Zhou Shuan take out the money. In the end she even ended up with a jadeite that had an excellent margin. Anyway, her family was richer than his, and she was unattractive. Wasn't she supposed to spend money to flatter him? Otherwise who would want her? Wan, tomorrow I'm going with other classmates from my class to visit companies for internships, so I won't be free. How about next time? Zhou Shuan put on a soft, innocent tone. "Yuyang, my parents are coming this time to buy me a car. Haven't you always said you wanted an Audi around 200,000? Why don't I transfer the money to you and you buy it first?" Lin Yuyang's voice suddenly brightened with excitement. "How much are your parents planning to give you? Buying a car would be at least 100,000, right? I'll try to persuade them some more tomorrow, and make sure they give me extra." Lin Yuyang hesitated again. But if they come, they're definitely planning to help you buy the car before they leave, right? So the car title. Zhou Shuan couldn't help but sneer. This was the selfish, greedy Lin Yuyang really couldn't understand how she had been blind in her last life to have chosen him. Of course it'll be in your name. Isn't your car mine by right? I'll tell them tomorrow to only take me to look. Later I'll go buy it myself. And then we'll go together. Brother Yuyang, I don't need a car right now. Wait until I have a job. Then you can buy me one, she said coyly. Who else is closer to us than the two of us? Lin Yuyang's voice sounded unusually gentle and patient. Be good, after you graduate, we'll go register our marriage. Zhou Shuan replied shyly. Yuyang, my dad said he'll buy me a car, but he wants me to pay part of it myself. He knows there's still 50,000 in my account, and wants to check my balance tomorrow. What should I do? Between what we spent last year and the trip, my balance is now 0. Lin Yuyang hesitated for a long time before saying weakly, your dad is really something, buying his daughter a car and still making you pay half. So stingy. Zhou Shuan stammered, my dad said he's afraid I'll spend all the money on you. He even said if the money really runs out, he'll stop taking care of me. Her tone was like a child who had done something wrong. This time Lin Yuyang hesitated for a long time before replying. He'd always been one to get something for nothing, and paradoxically, he really couldn't bear to give it up. Zhou Shuan changed her tone. Yuyang, hasn't your family wired the money to you yet? How about we forget it for now and buy it later? We haven't graduated anyway, so we don't need a car right away. That won't do. Lin Yuyang became anxious at once. After a pause he softened his voice. 50,000. I can't come up with that all at once. Wan, don't you have jiebe? Borrow a bit from there, and I'll try to find another way. My credit limit is too low. Besides, you think my dad would only check my Alipay balance? He'll definitely check jiebe and stuff. Lin Yuyang complained inwardly, said nothing aloud. His dad gave his daughter no privacy this week, and he didn't dare utter a word. After weighing it again, he gritted his teeth and agreed, all right then, I'll find a way to lend you 50,000 first. After your parents leave. Zhou Shuan immediately said, then I'll give it to you, Yuyang. You don't know me yet. That's true. After being together for over a year, Zhou Shuan had been very generous with money, never stingy. After all, her family was better off than his. Lin Yuyang felt a pang of bitterness and reminded Zhou Shuan several more times that the 50,000 yuan was a loan, and she must remember to pay him back. He hesitated over asking her to write an IOU, but in the end didn't say it. Zhou Shuan was only ugly, not stupid. If he really made her sign an IOU, the promised Audi would probably be gone in a flash. After hanging up, Zhou Shuan felt so sickened by her earlier self that she wanted to vomit. In her previous life, after the apocalypse arrived, she was trapped in S-City by floods. Her parents, worried about her, sent her 50,000 yuan and repeatedly urged her to stock up on rice, flour, oil, and other staples enough to eat and drink for at least 3 months. So she simply spent the entire 50,000, filling the living room with rice, flour, oil, instant noodles, vegetables, and dried goods. The apartment she rented was on the 19th floor, a 2-bedroom with a living room much more convenient than the dorm. So when Lin Yuyang and Zhao Shanshan asked to come live with her, she readily agreed. But when the floods dragged on, and then a rare global tsunami struck, and the government was powerless to help, their supplies ran out. Cunning Lin Yuyang gradually changed his attitude. Not only did he secretly hook up with Zhao Shanshan, but the two of them ate her food, drank her drink, and deliberately manipulated and puate her at every turn. When the three of them had to eliminate one person, Lin Yuyang said to Zhou Shuan, Wan, you're capable and smart but ugly. Going out to forage will surely be very safe. Shanshan is so beautiful. If she goes out it'll definitely be dangerous. Yeah, Wan, you're a strong career woman, and I'm just a delicate morning glory. I'm no good at going out to scavenge for supplies. She was so foolish then, always thinking she hadn't done enough, so she treated them twice as well. Seeing there weren't enough supplies to support 3 people. Her boyfriend and her best friend both wanted to kick her out, so she steeled herself and rain or shine, paddled a little boat made from mineral water bottles every day to look for supplies. Until one day 6 months later, she came home early and caught the two of them in bed. She was both angry and indignant, but to her surprise the two of them behaved abnormally and were the first to accuse and scold her, saying she wasn't gentle or considerate enough, that she was so jealous, and that she was as hard to please as a pampered young lady. But she had already come to her senses. With trembling hands she told the two of them to get out, and said she never wanted to see them again. Lin Yuyang immediately revealed his true nature, slapping her hard, leaving her seeing stars and with a bloody nose. He then called Zhao Shanshan to help and had her locked in the smallest bedroom. After that, he called over the scoundrel friends he knew from society. All people whose homes had been submerged or were homeless from other places. A few of them had a hearty meal in the living room, shouting that from now on they would form a team. Use this place as a base, get stronger and bigger together, no longer put up with being messed around by others, share the meat, share the women. When they heard Lin Yuyang voluntarily offering her up for those men to rape, she didn't hesitate, rubbed the ropes on her hands until they frayed, barricaded the door from the inside, smashed the window glass, and climbed down from the 19th floor. The heavy rain roared as it struck her face. Her face streaked with blood and rain, and she climbed down layer by layer along the balcony railing. She nearly fought for her life to escape that place that felt like hell. A senior from the same department, Zhang Jia, and her boyfriend also lived in this complex. They had even teamed up when going out to search for supplies. By then it had been more than half a year since the apocalypse. She had nowhere to go and had long since lost contact with her family, so she tentatively went to their door to ask for help. Fortunately, the senior was kind-hearted. After hearing about her plight she was furious on her behalf and took her in. The senior's boyfriend was somewhat reluctant, but he didn't say anything. So she temporarily moved into the apartment the senior had rented. Until later, when life became truly hard and the supplies they could find grew scarcer. They couldn't even eat their fill. Senior's boyfriend Zhao Kueishu then colluded with Lin Youyang's group to hand the two of them over in exchange for supplies. She and the senior fought back desperately and together killed Zhao Kueishu, finally escaping. But the senior still died on the journey north with her. Chapter 4: Infidelity. Thinking of the past, Zhou Shuan felt a deep desolation in her heart. Senior sister was such a kind and righteous person, yet like her, had encountered a scumbag and met an ill fate. In this life she would help her. Her phone showed a notification of a transfer received exactly 50,000 yuan. Lin Yuyang immediately sent her a WeChat message. Baby, I scraped this together by borrowing from friends all over the place. I have to pay them back quickly once I use it, okay? Zhou Shuan sneered and cleanly, decisively blocked him. Lin Yuyang owed her more than just this mere 50,000. It's still a society ruled by law. Killing requires paying with one's life. His life shall spare it for now. When the apocalypse comes she will take a life for a life. But Lin Yuyang did remind her. Since she's short on funds now, she could use those apps like Moe or Mobay. After all, once the apocalypse happens, all paper money will be invalid, and credit won't matter anymore. Zhou Shuan had borrowed from every lending platform she could think of, and in the end she cashed out a little over 120,000 yuan. Students didn't have high credit limits. This was already an unexpected windfall. Zhou Shuan locked the warehouse, drove the van to the university district, and first stopped at a noodle shop. She ordered a big bowl of spicy numbing chopped pepper noodles. He also ordered 2 portions each of hui mian, xiangla mian, chongqing noodles, daoshao mian, feichang mian, yupo mian and other noodle dishes, 30 portions in all. The excuse he gave was that the girls from the same department were going to watch a movie on a projector in the dorm that night, and this was the snack for that. The owner grinned from ear to ear, and the kitchen immediately began to hustle. The university town had heavy foot traffic, so 30 portions of noodles weren't a big deal. By the time Zhou Shu finished eating his chopped chili noodles, they were almost ready. This noodle shop was also one that Zhou Shuan often visited in her previous life. The flavor was rich and the portions generous, making it a favorite among university students. 30 servings of noodles were hard to carry, so after neatly stacking the 30 food boxes into 2 empty cardboard boxes, Zhou Shuan carried the cartons away. Perhaps this body retained memories from her past life. The current Zhou Shuan felt more energetic than before and reacted much more quickly. She pretended to put the cartons into the van, but actually took the opportunity to transfer them into her space. She was afraid of drawing attention, so she went to 2 other streets and ordered 30 claypot dishes, 30 servings of malatang, and 30 portions of hearty dishes like gobera, kung pao chicken, and big plate chicken. She went to the wonton shop where she'd eaten lunch and ordered 30 servings of wontons and 30 baskets of shengjian buns. Then, like a busy little bee, she carried them onto the van several times and put everything into the space. All of this cost more than 3,600 yuan. While waiting for the food to be prepared, she also withdrew 5,000 yuan in cash, went to several small supermarkets, and bought 50 jin of white sugar and 20 packs of shredded ginger brown sugar, spending more than 2,300 yuan in total. She glanced at the time. It was already past 9 in the evening, so she prepared to drive back to the neighborhood. Suddenly, 2 people walked out side by side from a rather shabby hotel next to a KTV in front of the van. In the dim light, it was none other than Lin Yuyang and Zhao Shanshan, pair of scoundrels. Zhou Shuan felt no turmoil inside. Only a cold laugh, so they were hooking up with each other at a time like this. The sky was dark, the van was shabby, and neither of them expected Zhou Shuan to be sitting inside, coldly watching them. Lin Yuyang half embraced Zhao Shanshan and kissed her cheek. Shanshan, you're so much more obedient than that old virgin Zhou Shuan. Men like your kind of gentle charm. Senior. Zhao Shanshan feigned a wistful smile. How could I compare to Wanwan? Her parents dote on her. They spend money freely. She's good at studying. I'm just a little pity nobody loves. She can't compare to you at all. What an ugly freak. Just looking at her face makes me nauseous. Lin Yuyang scoffed, his tone full of disdain. The only thing I'm satisfied with is that her parents are willing to spend money on her. Be good once her family buys me an Audi. I'll definitely dump her and make you my girlfriend. Really? That would be wonderful. If she hadn't heard it with her own ears, Zhou Shuan would never have known that Lin Yuyang thought of her that way. An old maid, an ugly hag. And Zhao Shanshan, her parents divorced and kicked her around like a ball. She could only live with her elderly grandmother, almost raised by her grandmother selling scrap to make ends meet. When they arrived at university, the 2 of them were assigned to the same dormitory. Zhao Shanshan often hugged her arm and affectionately called her Wanwan. In class, at meals, shopping, buying clothes, watching movies, she stuck to her. Because of the birthmark on her face, Zhou Shuan hadn't had very close friends from childhood through adulthood. When she encountered Zhao Shanshan's warm, proactive manner, and especially because the other girl was so pretty, she was a little flattered and truly took her for a confidant she could speak her heart to. When the other person was short on money, she generously gave her own living expenses for her to use and never mentioned repayment. When the other person said she liked her skincare products or clothes, she gave them away without batting an eye. Then the other person would jubilantly hug her and say they were sisters for life, never to be separated. Looking back now, how ironic. In her previous life, she wasn't just blind in her eyes, her heart was blind too, utterly unable to see people's true colors. Which is why those 2 were able to toy with her so completely. Zhou Shuan took a deep breath, calmed herself, saved the video she had just recorded, then drove the van back. After washing up, she threw herself onto the soft bed. Though utterly exhausted, she still didn't dare to rest. With less than half a month until the apocalypse, she had to use every moment to stockpile supplies. She went on Taobao and chose a well-reputed flagship store of a major polar down jacket brand. The seller claimed their down jackets were born for fighting in the Antarctic and Arctic, able to withstand extreme cold down to -40 degrees, priced between 3,000 and 5,000. In her previous life, the extreme cold lasted about 2 years. At the lowest, it could reach -70 or 80 degrees, and many people froze to death in their beds overnight. In her previous life, she reached the survival base before the extreme cold arrived, surrendered all the supplies she had stockpiled along the way, and only then earned the right to live in the base's heated workshops. It was a former factory building that had been renovated, divided into 4 zones, very large. Each zone held nearly 5,000 people. The space allotted to each person was no more than 3 square meters, with poor ventilation, very cramped, and very noisy. But it offered a chance to survive for people like Zhou Shuan who didn't have enough warm supplies. Zhou Shuan didn't even have a down jacket, and had hardly stepped outside the factory building in nearly 2 years. Thinking back now, it all feels suffocating. She ordered 9 adult polar goose down coats, 3 for each person. She also, based on her younger brother's age 3 or 4 years from now, chose 3 coats of different sizes, and picked 12 pairs of down pants, spending over 50,000 yuan in total. She also bought 4 polar goose down comforters from a home textile flagship store, spending 3,200 yuan. She ordered 3 types of tents and 6 insulated sleeping bags from the outdoor sports flagship store. She also bought necessary gear for wilderness exploration. A mini flashlight, headlamp, ropes, binoculars, windproof lighter, fire-starting tools, a utility knife, backpacks, first aid kits, compasses, survival whistles, signal rods, etc. Purchased for 4 people in total, costing over 4,000 yuan. She also ordered 80 packs of 100-piece warmers online for 4 people over 2 years, costing 5,490 yuan. She didn't plan to buy too many supplies for extreme cold. She would buy the bare minimum. After the end of the world, there might be opportunities to get things for free, which would be more economical and more complete. Chapter 5, Saying Goodbye to Parents. Zhou Shuan also bought dehumidifiers, dryers, hair dryers, desiccants, household quicklime blocks and other items needed for flood and heavy rain weather, spending a total of 3,800 yuan. Seeing the quicklime, she also bought quicklime heating packs and heated lunchboxes worth 1,000 yuan. When there is no electricity or gas, they are very convenient for boiling eggs and instant noodles. She also bought acid rain protective suits, goggles, gloves, boot covers, gas masks, etc., including sizes for the children. She bought 12 sets in total, spending 5,000 yuan. Also prepare 12 fire extinguishers, fire blankets, and fireproof cloaks, costing 4,200 yuan. That's almost 70,000 yuan spent. Zhou Shuan hurriedly stopped the most important medicines. Meat, eggs, milk, fruits and vegetables still hadn't been bought. There's over 100,000 yuan left in the balance. Tomorrow purchases must be made cautiously. She hoped her parents would hurry and arrive. She filled the warehouse address for all the items. She could go there to pick up the goods when the time came. Zhou Shuan was mentally calculating what supplies to buy next, which could wait for a zero-cost purchase later. She thought and thought until she fell asleep. The next morning, Zhou Shuan was woken by a relentless string of calls. Seeing an unfamiliar incoming call, she frowned slightly but still pressed answer. Zhou Shuan, how the hell did you block me? Lin Youyang's breathless, agitated voice came through. Zhou Shuan didn't even listen and just hung up the phone, then blocked him. Then she dug up the university student council group, the department group, and the club groups they both belonged to, and posted the video she had recorded last night into them. She also compiled into long images her transfer records to him over the past year, travel expense records, the jadeite purchases, and the chat logs where he sweet-talked her into lending him money, and posted them all together. Then she privately sent the counselor an application for a leave of absence. That should keep Lin Youyang and Zhao Shanshan busy for a while, and save them from coming to bother her. After washing up, Zhou Shuan ate a few pan-fried buns, and then drove to the farmer's market she had visited yesterday. Vegetables are freshest in the morning. The Southern District's market is a well-known southern supply hub, sending so many fresh agricultural products northward every day that single transactions reach astonishing volumes. Someone like Zhou Shuan is just a small fry. So she didn't hold back and went straight to the market area. The space had no planting function. It was only a storage area. Fruits, vegetables, meat and eggs were all consumables. Zhou Shuan decided to buy according to the quantity for a family of 4 for 30 years. She bought 500 jin each of vegetables like eggplant, tomato, green pepper, okra, chayote, garlic shoots, onion, lotus root, stem lettuce, broccoli, cabbage, purple cabbage, asparagus, baby bok choy, rapeseed greens, spinach, crown daisy, romaine, shiitake, enoki and celery, spending a total of 46,000 yuan. She bought 2,000 jin each of easily stored vegetables like white radish, carrot, and napa cabbage, spending over 5,000 yuan. I bought 1,000 jin each of starch staples that can serve as main foods: chestnut pumpkin, Chinese yam, potato, sweet potato, purple sweet potato, taro, spending a total of 23,000 yuan. I bought 4,000 ears of glutinous corn. Enough for a family of 4 to eat it twice a month, costing 3,200 yuan. I bought 500 jin each of ginger, scallions and garlic, costing 7,500 yuan. Vegetables cost a total of 84,700 yuan. When she paid, Zhou Shuwen's hands were shaking. The money went so fast, and she still hadn't bought fruits, meat, eggs or milk. There was less than 20,000 yuan left in her account. She told the shopkeeper the location of the storage room, and asked him to load the goods and deliver them before evening, telling him to call her when ready. 20,000 yuan wasn't nearly enough to buy everything, so she went to a wholesale canned goods store and bought 300 cans each of various meat cans, fish cans, bean cans, corn cans and fruit cans. While getting into the formal car, she received a call from her mother saying the two of them had already landed and could be at the entrance of the neighborhood she'd rented in half an hour by taxi. Zhou Shuwan was very happy and quickly told them which agricultural market she was at, asking them to come find her at the south gate. Both her parents were puzzled and didn't understand why she was working at a farmer's market, but they told the driver to hurry and change course. At the south gate of the market, the side facing the main road was lined with restaurants, all reasonably priced. Zhou Shuwan chose one, went in, booked a private room, ordered several dishes, and asked the restaurant to wait until everyone arrived before serving. He went to wait on the van for his parents to arrive. The farmer's market was already out in the suburbs, closer to the airport. It took 20 minutes to get there. Zhou Shuwan looked at her parents, who were exactly the same as in her memory, and held back her tears as she helped them into the van. The rear seats of the van had already been removed, and the space was cluttered with all kinds of supplies. Zhou Jianghai and Zhong Tiyun glanced at each other, very surprised, not knowing why their daughter had gotten a van. Fortunately, Zhou Shuwan had put a stool in the van ahead of time. Together with the passenger seat, it made exactly 3 seats. Zhong Tiyun, wearing a worried expression, sat in the passenger seat, took her hand and asked anxiously, "What's wrong with you, kid? Suddenly putting on a show like this, you and your dad scared the hell out of us." As she spoke, she scanned Zhou Shuwan up and down, as if looking for signs of injury, and when she saw her face she suddenly reacted. "Wan, where did your birthmark go?" Zhou Jianghai wasn't as anxious as Zhong Tianyan, but he frowned. "Did you have surgery to remove the birthmark?" Yet he also felt something was off. Even with cosmetic surgery, it wouldn't have healed so naturally. Feeling the long-missed concern from her parents, Zhou Shuwan smiled through tears and said to Zhou Jianghai, "Dad, when I was little you always told me this birthmark was a gift from the gods in the sky. Looks like it really was." Both Dad Zhou and Mom Zhou looked puzzled. Zhou Shuwan wiped her tears, looked left and right, saw no vehicles or pedestrians nearby, and said, "Dad, Mom, listen to me carefully." Zhou Dad and Zhou Mom were made solemn by her wary appearance. They glanced at each other and waited gravely. Zhou Shuwan thought for a moment, then slowly said, "Dad, Mom, watch my movements carefully." The back of the van was full of cans. She touched some with her hand and stored them in her space. As the movements of her hands shifted, nearly half of the cans in the trunk vanished. Zhong Tiyun exclaimed in surprise, "Wan, is this a magic show?" She looked around Zhou Shuwan and felt there was no spare place for her to put down so many cans. Zhou Shuwan shook her head with a smile and continued to put the stool her father had been sitting on back into the space. Mr. Zhou could only crouch half down there, but at that moment he couldn't care about not having a seat. He simply watched calmly. Zhou Shuwan smiled and, one by one, took out all the cans and stools. Mr. and Mrs. Zhou looked on in shock. "Dad, Mom, I just stored these things in a space. Yesterday morning my birthmark disappeared, but I gained a personal space that only I can see. Time inside it is frozen. It can store things, and whatever you put in it comes out exactly the same." As if afraid their parents wouldn't believe her, she brought out 2 more bowls of wontons she had bought yesterday. Sure enough, they were still steaming hot. "These are what I put in yesterday. I left them inside for a day, and they're exactly the same as when I put them in." Dad Zhou and Mom Zhou were completely stunned. Chapter 6 Upgrade Space. When you mean your birthmark turned into a storage space? Dad Zhou, worldly wise as he was, realized first. Zhou Shu nodded slightly yes. Dad, Mom, listen to me carefully. I woke up yesterday morning from a long dream. It reaches into early April. The end of the world will come soon. First it rains, then it slowly turns into a torrential downpour, day and night without stop. In just 2 months there's global flooding, and soon some island nations are completely submerged. About 4 or 5 stories high. At first the government still had rescue efforts, but later when the tsunami struck it destroyed most power facilities. The whole country lost contact, and after that there were never any large-scale rescue operations again. At that time I was trapped in City S. Later, seeing the flood situation getting worse and worse, Dad spent a lot of money to buy a motorized inflatable boat to come find me, but since then there has been no news of Dad. Mom, you were left alone with Mumu, staying in the old house. It was on the top floor, so you weren't afraid of being submerged. After the floods came the tsunami waves that swept over everything, countless tall buildings destroyed, and when the water receded, there came intense heat. Because you had stockpiled a lot of supplies before the heavy rains, the neighbors remembered it. When order broke down later, they led a group and rushed into the house, driving you and Mumu out. After the heatwave ended, the acid rain started again. You and Mumu both. Zhou Shuan thought of the 2 skeletons she had concealed in her past life. Her voice trembled slightly. The loss of her family in her past life was her greatest regret. Wan you Dad Zhou and Mom Zhou sounded as if hearing from the heavens, part disbelief, part confusion. Shu, it's just a dream. Zhong Tian patted Zhou Shuan's back. Your dad, your brother and I are all fine, nothing's wrong. Tears streamed uncontrollably down Zhou Shuan's face. In fact, after her parents died in her previous life she rarely cried anymore, because she knew that even if she did, no one would feel for her. But in this moment she reverted to the college student she had been before entering society, untested by the apocalypse, wanting nothing more than to throw herself into her mother's arms and cry her heart out. Still, she managed to restrain herself. She took a deep breath, looked at her pensive father and worried mother, and said solemnly, Dad, Mom, I know you think this is just a dream, but I know very clearly that this is my past life. Everything really happened. If you don't believe me, at 2 this afternoon the president of the foreign country Cass will be assassinated. And the news will be all over the internet. Wan. Zhou's father and mother were extremely shocked. Zhou Shuan smiled through tears. Dad, Mom, you know me, I've never been abroad. My circle has always been simple. How could I possibly know in advance about such a huge story as the assassination of a country's president? Zhou Dad and Zhou Mom were completely at a loss for words. Well, let's go eat first. We'll talk about it after we finish, Zhou Jianghai said with a light cough. Zhou Shuan also nodded. Since waking up yesterday she had been busy stockpiling supplies and hadn't had time for anything else. She locked the car door and, together with her parents, went to the private room they'd reserved. When this large table of dazzling dishes was set before her, she couldn't help herself and, picking up her chopsticks, began to devour them like a whirlwind. This habit had been formed in the apocalypse. Years of hunger and scarcity made her appetite like a bottomless black hole, wanting to cram everything that could fill her stomach into it. She had ordered 6 dishes and a soup, plus 3 bowls of rice. But just what she ate was enough to feed 3 people. Mr. Zhou and Mrs. Zhou stared at her in a daze. Mrs. Zhou suddenly choked up a little and pushed her own barely touched bowl of rice toward her. Eat slowly, take your time, be careful you don't choke. Mr. Zhou hurriedly poured her some water. Daughter, have some water. Zhou Shuan buried her head and ate ravenously, stealing a smile for her parents when she could. After she cleared her plate and let out a big satisfied burp, she felt a little embarrassed. Dad, Mom, I was so hungry. The dishes on the table were cleaned off completely. Even the fatty meat and the Shanghai bok choy she usually didn't like had gone into her stomach. Zhong Tian wanted to say something, but in the end simply stroked Zhou Shuan's back tenderly, again and again, like when she was a child. Zhou Shuan's back stiffened for a moment, then slowly relaxed as she tentatively leaned on her mother's shoulder. Smelling that familiar, reassuring scent of his mother, his eyes were a little wet. Zhou Jianghai said nothing, got up and went out. He returned soon, handing Zhong Tian a bag. It's a digestive oral liquid. Later have the girl drink 2 ampoules. She's eaten so much already, didn't let her get too full. He glanced over the spotless plate and swallowed the second half of his sentence. And Zhou Shuan did feel full, uncomfortably sob it inside. She had a sick kind of satisfaction. By the time they finished eating it was already 1:30, and before long it was 2 o'clock. At 2:10, Zhou Jianghai started browsing the major news websites. No need to look closely, the news was global and sensational. Pinned at the top with a glaring red headline that hurt the eyes. Zhou Jianghai and Zhong Tiyun were both silent. Actually, they had already believed it when they first saw their daughter's social feed. Still, a tiny sliver of wishful thinking remained in their hearts. What if their daughter had simply had a nightmare? Mr. Zhou started out running a hardware store, and now has 2 branches in the south and north of town. He was fairly worldly and breathed a long sigh. Then said to Zhou Shuan, Wan, come on, let's go back to the car. Tell me in detail what your plans are. Zhou Shuan nodded. After the family got into the van, she explained one by one. From what I know, the apocalypse has lasted at least 8 years. First came floods, extreme heat, and acid rain, then drought, and after that came extreme cold, perpetual night, earthquakes. So the most important thing for us is to stockpile supplies first. Food, drinks, daily necessities, future transportation, and various materials needed in disasters. After the apocalypse, social order collapses and everyone struggles to survive. There will be no large-scale factory production, so we must buy these supplies as soon as possible now. I have already bought some, but most still need to be purchased by you, Mom and Dad. Also, our old family house in the previous life, it withstood the acid rain. Only the top floor was corroded into pits and hollows, while the 6th floor remained solid. From now on we'll live there. We can sell our apartment with an elevator. The new complex is on low ground, and will be flooded quickly. If we're going to live on the 6th floor, we have to enclose the entire 7th floor with tempered glass and replace all the windows. Also solar panels, large capacity batteries, air conditioning, heating equipment, etc. In a disaster these will all fail after a short time and need to be replaced. And we must stock spares. What have you been buying these past 2 days? Zhou Shuan handed the supply list to Mom and Dad Zhou. Everything was clearly recorded on it. Dad Zhou glanced at it and felt reassured. But there was still one very important question. He looked up at Zhou Shuan. Wan, how big is your space? How much can it store? Zhou Shuan smiled wryly. Only about 80 square meters, can't hold that many things. But I've read web fiction about pocket dimensions that consume gold and jade to level up and expand their area. Zhou's father looked at Zhong Tiyun. Zhong Tiyun was wearing a very translucent violet jade bracelet. An heirloom from her ancestors, quite valuable. Married for many years, she understood her husband's meaning at a glance and immediately took off the bracelet and handed it to Zhou Shuan. Wan, try it. Chapter 7 Separate Actions. If the space didn't devour things, it merely stored them. Besides, it was the apocalypse, jewelry wouldn't be useful anymore. After the end of the world, how many people would trade gold bracelets and necklaces just for a bite to eat? Zhou Shuan put the bracelet into the space. In almost an instant, the white space that looked like a shipping container suddenly expanded. She estimated, then opened her eyes and smiled. Sure enough, it expanded by about 50 square meters. The Zhou family all breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the area had increased, that was fine. Zhong Tiyun also had a gold necklace and a pair of gold earrings, so she simply took them all off and handed them to Zhou Shuan. Wan, you try them all. Zhou Shuan put the gold jewelry into the space, and after a little while she nodded. It expanded, but not much, only by a few square meters or so. A few square meters will do. After all, there are very few gold ornaments to put in, only a dozen grams or so. The value is worlds apart from a jade bangle. Zhou Jianghai asked Zhou Shuan again about the exact timing of the apocalypse, then nodded. There really isn't much time left. Here's the plan. We split into 3 teams. I'll go home today, first put our elevator apartment and the storefront on Bai Street up for sale, and start renovating our house. Wan, later you tell me all the precautions. I know 2 pharmaceutical agents, contact them, and buy up the medicine. Tiyun, you and Wan stay here and finish buying the supplies. Most importantly, go to the bank today and withdraw all the precious metals we bought to upgrade Wanwan's space. The storefront on Bai Street occupied 2 rooms. It had been used for their family hardware store, and Zhou's father meant to close it and deal with it as soon as possible. Zhong Tiyun felt a bit anxious about gains and losses. But after looking at her determined husband and agreeable daughter, she nodded along. If the elevator unit and the storefront sell smoothly, that will free up another 2 million in cash, which will be very helpful for stocking supplies later on. Zhou Shuan reminded once more. Dad, when we get there we can trade a lot of stuff from the shop for supplies. Don't just give it away cheaply. Zhou Jianghai replied with an in. The 3 of them didn't delay any longer, and immediately went into action. It wasn't rush hour now. Dad Zhou bought the fastest ticket back to J-City. Zhong Tian first went online to make an appointment, and learned she could only pick up the precious metals tomorrow, so she continued on to the farmer's market to stockpile supplies. The 2 of them split up. Zhong Tian went to order shelves, then continued buying all kinds of dry goods, fruits and seafood, and waited at the warehouse to receive the deliveries. After learning that his daughter had only stockpiled 2 tons of rice and 2 tons of flour, he waved his hand and first went to buy 30 tons of rice and 30 tons of flour. Then he went to buy other things. Zhou Shuan drove the van out to a rural farm, ordered 50 large fat pigs from the pig farm, spending a total of 157,000 yuan. They also paid a processing fee to have the pigs butchered and cut up, and to have the pig's blood and large intestines properly dealt with. This was side income, might as well earn it if you can. The boss called 2 relatives to help, and they could finish the work in half a day. Then they sent everything to the warehouse for her to pick up that night. They also ordered 2,000 chickens, 2,000 ducks, and 1,000 geese from poultry farms, had them plucked and processed and sent to the warehouse. Altogether this cost about 350,000 yuan. Zhou Shuan also ordered 10,000 gene of chicken eggs, 1,000 gene of duck eggs, and 3,000 gene of salted duck eggs from the chicken and duck farms, spending 50,000 yuan. Goose eggs were too expensive, 5 yuan each. Zhou Shuan only bought 300 of them, unwilling to spend more, costing 1,500 yuan. The Zhou family were northerners and the whole household liked century eggs, but southerners preferred salted duck eggs. She simply placed an order on Taobao for a famous century egg brand, ordering 100 boxes of century eggs for 8,000 yuan. Thinking ahead, she also bought several trays of fertilized chicken, duck and goose eggs directly from the farm, along with a few incubators. If conditions allow, she could try hatching them herself and raising them. That would ensure a continuous supply of meat products. She also ordered 2,000 gene of beef and 2,000 gene of mutton, spending 126,000 yuan. On the way back, she passed by a dairy factory and stopped to go in. After the apocalypse, people suffered all kinds of malnutrition. Mumu and her parents were also at the age when they needed to supplement calcium, so Zhou Shuan bought 330-liter buckets of fresh milk, spending 60,000 yuan. She also bought about expire bagged milk. The factory happened to be clearing a batch at a very low price. Zhou Shuan bought 800 cartons in total, spending 28,000 yuan. By the time she returned to the city, it was already pitch dark. Zhong Tian was in the warehouse packing things up. Seeing her return, he didn't even have time to greet her. Zhou Shuan hurried to park, and went over to help sign the bill and unload the goods. The owner of the vegetable delivery smiled at the scene and chatted. Are you opening a supermarket? Such a big operation? Zhong Tiyun has been running a shop with Mr. Zhou for over a decade, and is most skilled at social niceties. Hearing this, she smiled. My daughter is about to graduate. The job market is bad. The 2 of us older folks discussed it, and decided to put up the money to get her a supermarket. It's better than working long hours for just a few thousand yuan a month. That's true. The owner shook his head and sighed. It's hard to find work these days. My kid graduated and is unemployed, now holed up at home studying for the civil service exam. Zhong Tian also sighed along with him, and the other party then drove off in the small truck. Zhou Shuan brought over dinner. 2 large servings of fried rice noodles and a bowl of seaweed and egg drop soup. The 2 of them ate in bits between tasks, then continued receiving goods until after 9 at night, finally finishing today's receipts. Many more goods won't arrive until tomorrow, so they'll have to assign someone to receive them then. Tonight the two of them still have to move everything from the warehouse into the space. They can't rest. Zhong Tian drove the van back and forth, pretending to be transporting goods. Zhou Shuan stayed in the warehouse, organizing supplies. She first pulled the tangled mess out of the space, then put in all the shelves her mother had bought today and arranged them neatly. Then she placed the purchased supplies on the shelves one by one according to the order. Grains and oils, vegetables, fruits, seafood, and daily necessities. Today Zhong Tian bought more than 20 kinds of fruit, including apples, peaches, pears, dragon fruit, oranges, pomelos, pineapples, tangerines, bananas, grapes, watermelon, hami melon, lychee, blueberries, cherry tomatoes, mangoes, longan, coconut, durian, and jackfruit. They bought 500 jin each of the frequently eaten items, and 300 jin each of the others. For fruits like durian and jackfruit that cost over 100 yuan apiece, they bought more than 300 of each. The total cost was 153,000 yuan. For dried goods they ordered 300 jin each of shiitake mushrooms and dried bean curd sticks, and 100 jin each of wood ear, white fungus, tea tree mushrooms, dried kelp, red dates, etc., costing 42,000 yuan. Today Zhou Shuan forgot to buy tofu in the evening, so Zhong Tian bought another 200 blocks of tofu. Each block is about 20 jin, costing just over 10,000 yuan in total. For seafood, they chose 1,000 commonly eaten freshwater fish such as grass carp, and perch. They also bought 500 crucian carp since it's best for soup, 600 jin of freshwater shrimp, and 300 jin of crawfish, spending a total of 74,000 yuan. For cooking oil, they bought 300 tubs of the various peanut, soybean, olive oils and other sizes commonly found in supermarkets, spending over 40,000 yuan. By the time they returned it was already midnight. Both were exhausted. Zhong Tian drove, and Zhou Shuan tallied up today's expenses, exhaling. "Mom, today we spent just over 900,000. With what she bought this morning, it adds up to 1 million. Money really doesn't last with her." Although she wasn't sure exactly how much savings the family had, spending 1 million all at once certainly hurt. On the bright side, her space was now stocked with enough food and drink for a family of 4 for the next 30 years. The sense of crisis that had been hidden in her heart since waking up was finally somewhat relieved. Chapter 8 Special Forces. Zhong Tian was also very calm. "After we sell the house and the storefront, the remaining money will be enough." She glanced at Zhou Shuan, hesitated a moment, then asked, "Wan, you haven't mentioned Lin Yuyang. What's going on between you two?" Zhou Shuan's phone kept ringing all day, but whenever it was Lin Yuyang calling, she immediately hung up. She didn't answer calls from other counselors or classmates either. She didn't want to say too much to worry her parents. But after thinking a bit, she still gave her mother a heads up. "Mom, Lin Yuyang is not a good person. After the apocalypse he joined a group of villains who prey on the weak, and he's also been involved with Zhao Shanshan. So I've already broken up with him." Zhong Tian's brow tightened. "Isn't Zhao Shanshan in the same dorm as you?" Zhao Shanshan had even shamelessly followed Zhou Shuan to J City to play, and both Zhou's parents had met her. Before Zhou Shuan could answer, Zhong Tian gritted her teeth in anger. What a pair of bad examples. Wan, don't be too upset when your mother sees them, she'll make them pay. Zhou Shuan had long decided she would kill Lin Yuyang after the apocalypse, but hearing her mother defend him now still sent a warm tide through her heart. She leaned partially against Zhong Tian and nodded happily. "Thank you, Mom." They got back too late. There were hardly any people left in the neighborhood, and the mother and daughter slept until dawn. After breakfast, the counselor called Zhou Shuan again. After thinking it over, Zhou Shuan still accepted. The counselor's surname was Wang. He had only been working a few years, was not much older than Zhou Shuan and the others, could hang out with them, and was usually very earnest and responsible. On the phone he earnestly persuaded Zhou Shuan for a long time. "Lin Yuyang's matter has already caused an uproar at school. Rest assured, our department has set up an investigation committee, and in the end they will certainly impose a punishment on him. So Shuan, you don't need to take a leave of absence because of him. The job market is too tough these days, and many civil service exams have age limits. If you take a year off you lose a year of opportunity. So the teacher still hoped you would consider it and come back to school. Very sincere. Zhou Shuan thought for a moment and said, "Thank you, teacher. I will consider it. But I'd like to take a few days off first and go home." All right, go home and relax. You must give careful thought to the suspension." The counselor breathed a big sigh of relief and hurriedly agreed. Zhou Shuan hung up the phone and fell silent, thinking of her senior and of the counselor who feared she would delay her employment. She felt that although there were many scoundrels and bad people after the apocalypse, there were actually still many good people in society. In her previous life she had journeyed north, been harmed by people, and also been helped by many. Human nature is complex. Everyone has both good and evil in their hearts, and when living in a peaceful society, the good is amplified. But if one has nothing at all, evil will thoroughly drive a person's nature. In this life she was fortunate enough to be reborn. She had to do something without exposing herself. She pondered for a long time and made up her mind. In her previous life, while surviving in S-City, she met someone who, before the apocalypse, ran a marketing account. Listening to him brag about those marketing tactics, it was as if he could turn clouds into rain with a flick of his hand. No one knew his real name. People only called him Huang Xiaoxia, Young Knight Huang. Zhou Shu searched online that night, checking thread after thread on various forums, and indeed found a few videos made by someone calling himself Huang Xiaoxia. Zhong Tian had gotten up early and gone out to order takeout. She knew that every time Zhou Shuan went to the restaurant she would order only 30 portions. Then shake her head and say that was too slow. Today she would pretend to be a logistics auntie from a large company and go to the restaurant to order takeout. They would go to the bank together after she returned. Zhou Shuan then disguised herself. The birthmark on her face was gone, and anyone who knew her would be puzzled. She had been wearing a mask when going out these past 2 days. Today she changed into a summer sun protective jacket with a hood. Apart from her eyes, it completely covered her head and facial features. She also put on sunglasses, found one of her mom's more old-fashioned outfits, tried it on and checked the mirror. When she was completely unrecognizable, she went out. She went straight to a small internet cafe in the university district. It was loosely managed and unhygienic. She registered an account and privately messaged the other party on a forum. Young Master Huang was probably online the whole time, and immediately replied, "Hello, boss?" Zhou Shuan's registered account used a male avatar. "Rich and handsome boss. I want you to do some marketing promotion. There's payment, you do it?" Young Master Huang. Eyes sparkling, "Yes, boss, as long as there's enough money, I'll do whatever you want." Zhou Shuan shivered, sent him the outline she'd worked out, then added, "A 2,000 deposit, and if views exceed 200,000 pay the 3,000 balance." The other side quickly replied with an okay gesture. "Rich, handsome, big shot. Send your address and I'll deliver the deposit to you." Huang, young master. Terrified, big shot. "A WeChat transfer will do. Mr. Tall, rich and handsome boss. I don't use WeChat. I'm used to paying in cash." They hesitated for a long time before finally sending an address. This was downtown. Zhou Shuan had gone there many times with classmates. It was about a 40-minute subway ride away. The address he gave was a cafe. Mr. Tall, rich and handsome boss. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Young Master Huang sighed over there, thinking the big shot truly is a big shot, so cold and aloof, while replying, "Okay, looking forward to being fed by the big shot," starry-eyed. Zhou Shuan finally breathed a sigh of relief. She logged off and left the internet cafe. She was just about to find a restroom to change out of this strange outfit when she suddenly saw, a few hundred meters ahead to the left, several people who looked like soldiers in camouflage moving back and forth, peering and inspecting something. Having just done something significant, Zhou Shuan immediately felt guilty. But after thinking it over she figured the others hadn't acted yet, so they probably wouldn't expose her so soon. She forced herself to walk over calmly. Just as she was about to pass by them, a sharp voice suddenly cried out, "Stop!" Zhou Shuan stood rigidly in place. One of the soldiers walked over. Zhou Shuan noticed his waist and boots were bulging. In her previous life she had seen countless military units rescue disaster victims, and new weapons were hidden there. But her face grew even calmer. The man came to her side and gave her a once-over. He first showed his identification, his voice low and resonant. "Hello, comrade. We're from the XX Corps, Unit 905. We want to ask you a few questions." Zhou Shuan quickly glanced over the ID, and when she saw the emblem in the lower right corner, she felt more reassured. They were special forces. She took off her sunglasses, her big eyes curved as she showed a faint smile. "Hello. I'm a student at XX University, a sophomore this year. May I ask what Uncle Bing would like to know?" Uncle Bing? The person in front of him was actually very young, at most 25 or 26, broad-shouldered with long legs, standing straight like a pine, and with extremely handsome features. Probably forged by experiences in the military different from ordinary people, his handsome features did not seem effeminate. Instead they carried a decisiveness and firmness, exuding heroic vigor. Chapter 9 Suspected. The other person hesitated for a moment, then handed her the photo. "Have you seen this person?" Zhou Shuan looked down and saw that it was a very beautiful young woman, then shook her head. "I've never seen her. What's wrong with her?" The other person's voice was calm. "This person is extremely dangerous. If you see her, be sure to call the police." Zhou Shuan hurriedly nodded, feigning fright. Okay, that's terrifying. "Thank you, Uncle Soldier. I'll be careful." Seeing her being scrutinized again, his expression grew grave. The other soldier brothers put their hands on their waists, watching her as if poised to take action, and she realized her outfit looked suspicious. Zhou Shuan thought for a moment, then proactively pulled back the sunshade and took off her hat, smiling awkwardly. "It's so sunny, I'm most afraid of getting tanned." Though also very pretty, with the vigor and naivety typical of a college student, she was not the woman in the photo. The group withdrew their gazes, and the handsome soldier looked at her once more, then nodded to indicate she could leave. Zhou Shuan breathed out and walked over. Before leaving she cast another discreet glance at the bulging weapons at their waists, feeling very envious. After the apocalypse, resources were scarce and order collapsed. Humans killed one another to survive, not to mention foreign lands. Because domestic weapon control was strict, after the apocalypse those who could wield firearms were a handful of big players. Ordinary people like Zhou Shuan could consider themselves lucky if they managed to buy a sword, a crossbow, and a dagger. Many people relied on kitchen knives and fruit knives as self-defense weapons. However, on her northbound journey in her previous life, she had encountered a supply search team made up entirely of women. Their leader, Chen Fun, had retired from the military and somehow acquired a batch of stun batons and crossbow bolts. A group of women simply couldn't match the strength of men. But when conflicts arose, those with crossbows stayed in the rear to defend, while those with stun batons attacked at the front. Their coordination was good, and they managed to come away unscathed each time. At that time, because Zhou Shuan and Zhang Jia had been a great help, Chen Fun wanted to invite them to join the team, but both were intent on going home and declined. However, they stayed behind to learn crossbow shooting for a while, and when they left, Chen Fun gave each of them a crossbow and a bundle of bolts as a token of thanks. It was by relying on that crossbow and those bolts that Zhou Shuan was able to stagger home safely. Later, when the arrows ran out, she learned to make them from bamboo. Though not as sharp as the ones Chen Fenyu had given, they still had a certain deterrent value. However, the crossbow's rate of continuous fire was too slow, and its accuracy needed readjusting after a while. Once they were ambushed by a group of people, she and Zhang Jia were stretched thin on both sides, and in the end they were overwhelmed. Zhang Jia was stabbed in a vital spot. There was no medicine, no medical equipment, and he died soon afterward. Now that she thought about it, if senior sister Zhang Jia had stayed with that squad, she might not have died. A faint ache flashed through Zhou Shuan's heart. She shook her head to cast off those sorrowful memories and turned her thoughts back to weapons. In fact, besides those weapons, most of the cold weapons she later saw the troops and militias using at the base were not crossbows but bows. Bows have a faster firing rate, are simpler to make, and are better suited than crossbows for taking on multiple enemies at once. At that time the base militia also recruited 2 batches, but Zhou Shuan was just a woman, physically weak, couldn't even draw a bow, so she was naturally screened out. If you want your whole family to survive in the apocalypse this life, you not only need to stock enough supplies, but also train your skills and have the ability to protect yourselves. Crossbows shoot slowly, but they're easy to use. Even ordinary children can handle them, so you should find a way to prepare some bolts and have your parents practice, so they can defend themselves in the future. Ordinary stun batons are easy to buy several, and keep them charged. As for the bow, she was the family's mainstay. In this life she had to start practicing early and prepare in advance. Zhou Shuan exhaled lightly, found a bathroom to change clothes, and met up with her mother. They first placed the 1,000 takeaway meals packed into the van by her mother from 3 or 4 different restaurants into the storage space. Then they went to the bank together, and withdrew all the more than 800 grams of gold the family had bought off and on over the years. On the surface it looked like they were left in the backpack, but she had quietly transferred them all into the space. Whoosh! Almost instantly, the space expanded by another 40 square meters. Zhou Shuan felt overjoyed. Now the space was already over 170 square meters. But all the family's valuables had been used up by her. Unless they found a chance after the apocalypse to get things for free, none of them had the means to upgrade the space. So from now on they had to increase the space's utilization rate. After all, there were still many supplies left to collect. Zhong Tiyun continued returning to the warehouse to collect goods. Zhou Shuan drove the van out to the factory in the suburbs. Flour, rice grains and oil, meat, eggs and milk, vegetables and fruits, those were all almost bought. Next, the most important things are water sources and coal. But to store enough drinking and household water for a family of 4 for the next 30 years, no matter how you calculate it, you'd need to store over 1,000 tons of water. And Zhou Shuan's current space simply couldn't hold that. By chance the family was in the hardware business and had dedicated supply channels. Yesterday Zhou Jianghai had already contacted a manufacturer in J City. They ordered 30 20-ton water tanks, 50 10-ton water tanks, 52-ton water tanks, and 51-ton food-grade plastic water tanks. Bought another 5,000 yuan worth of water purification tablets, and a filtration unit. Also rented a large warehouse on the outskirts of J City. Sent the water tanks there, and will fill them when the mother and daughter return. The past 2 years were a period of floods, so water resources weren't as scarce. Zhou Jianghai, being meticulous, also ordered 20 inflatable pools measuring 15m 10m 2m online, and bought 500 barrels of 30-liter drinking water from the water plant. Just for these, it cost a little over 300,000 yuan. No choice. The price for large-capacity water tanks is just too steep. Zhou Shuan went straight to the coal yard. Although it was the south, the province where S City is located is also a major coal producer, so it was the same as buying back in J City. Her storage space was too small, so she only bought 50 tons of coal and honeycomb briquettes, enough for 2 years. She'll stock up more when she gets the chance. She also picked up 3 coal stoves with chimneys and 10 small camping can stoves, compact and tightly wrapped so they won't burn anyone. Thinking of this, she went online and bought 5 each of heaters. A fan heater, an oil-filled radiator, electric blankets, electric heating tables, and floor heating mats. Electric blankets are very convenient. Plug them in, and they keep you warm. There were also 4 or 5 old electric blankets back at the family home. Rotating their use would be enough. She also ordered 5,000 yuan worth of insulating cotton online to wrap the entire interior of the house in later. It would be very useful. For all the online orders she put the delivery address as the J City warehouse, so her dad could pick them up. She had the coal plant deliver coal to the warehouse, then drove off toward the southwest, where most of the province's electricity wholesale plants were concentrated. Zhou Shuan bought many sets of large-capacity solar charging panels, high-power solar power panels, solar batteries, solar water heaters, solar flashlights, and also diesel generators and gasoline generators, all under the pretense of purchasing supplies for her own factory. All of these were the most sought-after materials after the apocalypse. Who knew how many years it would be before they could be produced again? But with the apocalypse's extreme cold and heat, heating and air conditioning were absolutely indispensable. So Zhou Shuan bought everything up to the maximum extent her family could afford, spending a total of 300,000. Chapter 10: Scheming. As for energy sources like gasoline and diesel, Zhou Shuan also discussed them with her father over the phone. Zhou Jianghai bluntly said, "You're a girl, unfamiliar with people and places over there. Buying these things will take a lot of effort, don't trouble yourself. Dad will buy them. After doing business for so many years, I still know a few people." Zhou Shuan had been scraping by alone in the apocalypse for 8 years, and had long been used to doing things herself, relying on no one. But spending these past few days with her parents made her feel as if 2 mountains were supporting her from behind. No matter how harsh the apocalypse, she would no longer be afraid. By the time she returned, it was already past 7 in the evening. She brought back a large serving of spicy chicken and 2 bowls of rice. Sat down with her mother, and they devoured it in no time. The 2 of them closed the storage room door, sorted and categorized the day's haul, and neatly placed everything into the space. She looked at the storage space packed to the brim, feeling both happy and a little worried. "I've already arranged with the coal boss and the power boss to deliver tomorrow. But how to store it is really a problem. Those solar panels and generators can just be squeezed onto the shelves above. But 50 tons of coal will take up the space of 60 square meters. Even if she packed her space tightly, it would only barely be enough, and there would be no room left for any other supplies." Zhong Tian said, "After we finish receiving goods these next couple of days, we'll pack up and head back. Take out the things in your storage that don't need refrigeration, and put them in the J-City warehouse. And prioritize keeping the perishable items here." Zhou Shu nodded slowly and sighed. "That's the only option. If they're going to be stored in a warehouse, then the rest has to be bought later. I also have to tell Dad we need to rent a warehouse on high ground that won't be flooded after the end of the world, and gradually move things over. And we must pay attention to safety and concealment. Don't leave supplies uncollected after the apocalypse and end up getting robbed. Just thinking about that makes me want to puke." Zhong Tian said, "Then why don't we rent a place in our neighborhood? It's close and easier to keep an eye on things. In our old residential area, many people have moved to buildings with elevators, so there are plenty of places available." Zhou Shuan thought for a moment and shook her head. "Mom, when the floods submerge half the city, most people will have to migrate. By then all the office buildings and the high-rise residential blocks will be requisitioned by the government to house disaster victims." Zhong Tian was surprised. "Will the place we live in be requisitioned too? That won't happen. If there really isn't enough space, the community staff will communicate with us. We're the homeowners, so our opinions will still carry weight. But those empty houses will certainly be requisitioned. It's too risky to store our supplies in the neighborhood. Then we'll have to rent another warehouse." Zhong Tian hesitated, then looked at Zhou Shuan. "Wan, Mom has been wanting to discuss something with you. About the apocalypse. Should we give your second uncle and third aunt a heads up? And what about the relatives on your father's side who are close? Should we tell them too?" Zhou Shuan's maternal grandparents had both passed away a few years earlier, leaving only the 4 siblings. But her eldest uncle and Zhong Tian's sister had always been on bad terms, and after the old couple died they cut off contact entirely. Zhong Tian simply pretended she didn't have that brother, but she was very close to her second uncle and third aunt. Her second uncle's family lived in the countryside. When her cousin used to come to the city for high school, he stayed at the Zhou home. Your third aunt's place was demolished and rebuilt. Now they moved into a building with an elevator. But your second uncle still lives in the countryside. He'll definitely get flooded then." Zhou Shuan suddenly remembered something, but after glancing at her worried mother, she swallowed the words. "Mom, wait 2 more days. Once it starts raining, we'll have a reason to warn people. There's still 2 months between the rain and the floods. Enough time for them to stock up on some supplies. Others don't have the space that Zhou Shuan does. Even if they learn the news early, how much can they store? Especially food and drink, they have expiration dates." Zhong Tian thought it over and put her worries aside. "All right. Wait a few more days. We'll agree on what to say with your dad, and don't let your identity be exposed." Although she worried about her second brother and third sister, her first priority was to protect her daughter. She must not let outsiders learn Wan's secret. Zhou Shuan nodded with a smile. Seeing that it was already past 9, they drove back. After parking downstairs and getting out of the car, someone suddenly lunged forward and grabbed Zhou Shuan, gnashing their teeth and cursing, "Zhou Shuan, you bitch. Lin Youyang's eyes were bloodshot and his face ashen. Under the streetlight he looked like a crazed lion. One hand clutched her while the other swung down hard. At Zhong Tiyun's exclamation, Zhou Shuan misstepped and twisted around. Not seeing how she moved, she struck the other person's neck hard with her elbow. Lin Youyang gave a miserable cry and lay on the ground gasping for a long time. Zhong Tiyun hurried over and sized Zhou Shuan up and down. "Wanwan, are you okay?" Zhou Shuan smiled reassuringly. "Mom, don't worry, he can't hurt me." In her previous life, after moving into the survivor's base, the base strictly controlled the use of weapons. But to protect the weak, women and children, it published many self-defense techniques and even offered crash courses in self-defense, all taught by veteran soldiers with rich experience. Zhou Shuan wasn't selected for the militia, so she studied these skills diligently. It was by relying on her crossbow and good agility that she survived for 8 years afterward. However, after the earthquake, she was ambushed by Lin Youyang and Zhao Shanshan because she hadn't eaten for a long time and had injured her leg and lost her crossbow during the quake, leaving her caught between the two and ultimately killed. In his previous life, Lin Youyang had scraped by for 8 years in the apocalypse and had learned quite a few skills. But right now he was still just a weakling, which gave Zhou Shuan the perfect opportunity to vent her anger. Zhong Tiyun looked her up and down, and seeing she was fine, relaxed. Then he turned to Lin Youyang full of loathing. "Lin Youyang, you received a university education and were a top student. How could you lay a hand on a girl?" "Mom, don't argue with him, call the police," Zhou Shuan said without the least patience. She dialed 110, explained the situation, and then hung up. Lin Youyang felt as if his throat had been ripped out. Everything went black for a long moment before he barely managed to stand, pointing at Zhou Shuan, eyes burning with rage. "You venomous-shirted woman, give me my money back." After he transferred the 50,000, Zhou Shuan immediately blocked him and posted those videos and screenshots in the school group. How could Lin Youyang not understand she had long known about his affair with Zhao Shanshan, used sweet talk to trick him into sending money, and then retaliated? What a poisonous heart. What deep scheming. What despicable behavior. Lin Youyang thought of the cold stares and mockery he'd received these past few days, and the accusations from the department leaders and his counselor. Thinking about that 50,000 yuan again felt like a flesh wound. His heart burned with rage, and swinging his arm, he rushed back up. Chapter 11. The Rabbit Stray. Zhong Tiyun cried out. "Wanwan." Zhou Shuan, however, had already been on guard. She spun around and kicked him in the waist, sending him flying. Lin Youyang fell to the ground, looking at her with bewildered uncertainty. They had been dating for over a year, and he had never known she was so skilled. It was only a little past 9, and many people in the neighborhood were still walking downstairs. They'd already heard the commotion and gathered around. Zhou Shuan looked coldly at this man who was golden on the outside but rotten within, and a murderous intent rose in her heart. In his previous life, he seized her supplies, had people assault her, caused the death of their senior sister, and in the end conspired with Zhao Shanshan to kill her. Yet 8 years after the apocalypse he was still alive and well. Not even that devastating, inhuman earthquake could take his life. Could it be that villains truly are spared for 1,000 years? If heaven refuses to take him, then she will administer heaven's justice herself. Zhou Shuan's expression was icy cold. Her hands clenched into fists. Wanwan. Perhaps her expression was too terrifying. Zhong Tiyun hurriedly grabbed her hand and looked at her with concern. Zhou Shuan let out a long breath. There were so many onlookers here, and even though the apocalypse had progressed to a tsunami, order and law still existed. She couldn't risk herself for this scumbag. Not worth it at all. She gave a cold smile, raising her voice so everyone around could hear. Lin Youyang, you still have the nerve to come looking for me? You were entangling yourself with my best friend behind my back, secretly plotting how to make me beg my parents for money to buy you a car, and then kick me to the curb. Too bad heaven has eyes. I happened to catch you conspiring. So now, if I kick you first and help you get together with my best friend, you don't appreciate me and still have the gall to come cause me trouble? Having laid out the whole story in one go, the onlookers immediately turned their looks of contempt and disgust on Lin Youyang. These scumbag men nowadays get by on a pretty face to swindle women. These scumbags should be beaten to death. Clearly he didn't get any of the woman's favors, so he's come looking for trouble. Lin Yuyang, furious and enraged, glared at Zhou Shuan and snarled, no trace left of the once handsome senior. You poisonous woman. Bitch. Ugly hag. Nobody wants an old virgin like you. I won't let you off, give me my money back. Watch your mouth, Lin Yuyang. You at least dated our Wanwan for a year. And behind her back you hooked up with her good friend. Cheated her out of money and love. And now you insult her so nastily. Tomorrow I'll go to your school and get an explanation. Zhong Tian couldn't hold back and shouted loudly. Mom. Don't waste your anger on someone like that. It's not worth it. Zhou Shuan sneered. To a scumbag like him, reputation meant nothing. It was that money he was after. I've already posted the transfers I've made to you over this past year in the group. What? Don't you know how much you spent of my money and how much you borrowed from me? I only asked you to pay the money back. I didn't even add interest. And you're pained as if you've lost your own mother. It's ridiculous. Zhou Shuan's words were as sharp as a knife, and coupled with her contemptuous expression, they nearly made Lin Yuyang's lungs burst with anger. The people around them were whispering and pointing at him. You filthy bitch. He gritted his teeth, stood up and staggered over. Zhou Shuan showed no mercy, grabbed his arm and slapped him across the face several times. Lin Yuyang saw stars, spun several times on the spot, ears ringing. The onlookers all burst into laughter. Well done. That was satisfying. Scum like him deserves a good beating. Beating someone really is only satisfying when it's a slap to the face. Zhou Shuan had given him several harsh slaps and immediately felt a lot of the anger in her chest dissipate. Shuan, what's wrong? A young, pretty girl pushed through the crowd, glanced at Lin Yuyang, and asked Zhou Shuan with concern. Senior. Zhou Shuan's eyes lit up. The newcomer was none other than Senior Zhang Jia. The whole school had spread the news about Lin Yuyang and Zhou Shuan. Zhang Jia was a woman with a strong sense of justice. Otherwise, in the previous life she wouldn't have reached out to help Zhou Shuan. So she looked down on Lin Yuyang. She had only come over to see if she could help in any way. Her boyfriend, however, disagreed with her intervening, afraid of causing trouble. He had pleaded in vain and now hid himself in the crowd. Shuan, why bother nagging that scumbag? Call the police. And tell the counselor. I heard your department is currently meeting to decide what punishment to give him and Zhao Shanshan. If they find out he came to cause trouble here, they might expel him outright. Zhou Shuan couldn't help but smile. She had forgotten that although her senior appeared demure and genteel, at heart she was a very straightforward, decisive person. I've already called the police. More and more onlookers gathered, and someone even started a live stream, filming Lin Yuyang's face up close while hyping him up with exaggerated commentary. He couldn't stay any longer. He couldn't win in a fight and couldn't take advantage alone. Gritting his teeth, he spat out a vicious threat. Zhou Shuan, just you wait. She was about to bolt. Stop. Zhou Shuan shouted. What? What do you want to do? Lin Yuyang had been hit several times, his whole body ached. Seeing Zhou Shuan walk toward him, he was so frightened that he took a step back. Zhou Shuan sneered contemptuously, walked over and grabbed the jade pendant on the other's neck. I bought this for you. It's time it was returned to its rightful owner. She rudely tore the badge off, then looked at the other person coldly. Now you can get lost. You. Alright, Zhou Shuan, I will never let you off. Just you wait. Lin Yuyang trembled with anger, and wanted to say more, when suddenly he heard the wail of police sirens. He shuddered. It was obvious even without thinking with his toes that if the police actually took him away, what would the school gossip turn into? He couldn't possibly be expelled, could he? He no longer dared delay, pushed through the crowd and ran as fast as he could. Zhou Shuan also knew that in the current situation, the police would only give a few admonitions that wouldn't do any good. So she didn't stop them. Zhong Tian hurried to meet the officers and explained what had happened, thanking them repeatedly. The two policemen then reminded them a few more times to stay safe and not come back too late at night, and had the onlookers disperse before they left. Zhou Shuan chatted briefly with Zhang Jia, who told her, I think that Lin Yuyang is a ruthless man. He has no bottom line in what he does. Shuan, you must be careful. Zhou Shuan nodded slightly and smiled, don't worry, senior. My parents weren't comfortable leaving me alone, so they flew here to stay with me these past few days. That's good. If there's anything you need me to help with, be sure to tell me. Zhang Jiao waved as she and her boyfriend Zhao Kueishu left. Zhou Shuan watched Zhao Kueishu's back, her expression darkening. What rotten luck. We should have stopped him earlier and had the police take him in. He got off way too easy. Zhong Tiyun and Zhou Shuan went up the stairs together, still fuming. Zhou Shuan just smiled. Mom, although he came looking for trouble today, I beat him until he was picking teeth off the ground. If the police really question me, they'll probably just give me a few words of admonition. Besides, I also took his 10th Sandiyuan chain. The police might make me return it. Its jade quality isn't great, but it could at least be used to expand the space a bit. She said the last sentence in a lowered voice into Mom Zhong's ear. Chapter 12. Has the apocalypse begun? To outsiders, Lin Yuyang was just a heartbroken man causing trouble for his ex didn't lay a finger on her, yet ended up beaten badly, so of course the police couldn't do anything to him. Zhong Tiyun hurriedly nodded when she heard that. That's true. Try it as soon as you get home and see how much it can be extended. Zhong Tiyun recalled how imposing Zhou Shuan had looked moments ago and couldn't help laughing. Wan, when did you learn those moves? They're amazing. You held your own perfectly even against a big man. Zhou Shuan pressed her lips into a smile. I learned them back when I trained at the base. Very useful. Mom, when we go back I'll teach you and Dad, and Mumu too. We all need to know how to protect ourselves. Zhong Tiyun nodded emphatically. That piece of jadeite was bought at the scenic area. The price was jacked up, and after tossing it into the space it only expanded by a few square meters, but something is better than nothing. Zhou Shuan said to Zhong Tiyun, Mom, you've been receiving shipments in the warehouse these past 2 days. I'm going back to the countryside for a bit to pick up some seeds and fruit tree saplings. Zhong Tiyun nodded. Right. We can't live off our savings forever. Buy more seeds, we'll plant them on the 7th floor terrace, and be self-sufficient. Mrs. Zhong also came from the countryside. She later followed Zhou Jianghai to the city to make a living. In the past, Grandma and Grandpa raised their 4 children by growing greenhouse vegetables. Mrs. Zhong learned a lot of planting techniques from them as a child. She won't boast about other things, but when it comes to farming and vegetable growing, no one in the family can beat her. She had previously grown vegetables on the home's terrace. They did very well and she often gave them to neighbors in the community she got along with. Zhou Shuan smiled. Mom, after the apocalypse the acid rain has corroded the soil. Later we'll have to stockpile some soil, otherwise we won't be able to grow anything. Zhong Tiyun stood stunned for a moment, then couldn't help swearing, damn that crooked heaven. It really doesn't leave people any way to live. Without land, you can't grow food, and with the apocalyptic disasters overwhelming everything, it's truly difficult for humanity to survive. Zhou Shuan's expression was likewise heavy. Remembering something, she reminded, Mom, wait until I get back to order in large quantities. Otherwise there's no space, it won't be easy to store. Zhong Tiyun nodded repeatedly. I'll order first and have them prepare it for tonight. We'll pick it up when you return. Early the next morning, the mother and daughter set out, each going their separate way. On the way, Zhou Shuan received another call from her counselor. Last night's scene where Lin Yuyang showed up and caused a ruckus had gone a bit viral on a certain streaming platform, and the counselor was asking if she was okay. Zhou Shuan exchanged a few words with the counselor before hanging up. She first drove into the city center, then, after putting on a mask, hat and sunglasses, went to the coffee shop she had agreed to meet Huang Xiaoxia at yesterday. She handed the other party's contact information and the deposit to the server, asking them to pass it along. Then she went to the farmer's market to buy seeds, purchasing a batch of every type she could find. There were also saplings. She visited several shops and bought 50 of each kind of fruit tree seedling, spending a total of 5,000 yuan. Actually, seeds and saplings were readily available at the farmer's market. The reason Zhou Shuan told her mother she was going to the countryside was that, after seeing those special forces soldiers, an immature idea that had been forming in her mind since her rebirth finally took shape. Firearms are extremely hard to obtain in Huaxia. She'd have to wait for the chaos of the apocalypse to see if there was any chance to stockpile some. But bullets are consumables, use one. And there's one less. So after the apocalypse, cold weapons are still best. Buy some tools and you can make them at home. But cold weapons lack stopping power, so the ancients coated arrowheads and sword edges with various poisons. Aconite is one of them. A small amount of aconite, if it breaks the skin, can slow the heart rate and numb the whole body. In severe cases it causes confusion, coma, and ultimately heart failure and death. In a previous life, some people who knew about traditional Chinese medicine would smear aconite on weapons to achieve a one-hit kill. Zhou Shuan encountered it twice. At the time she remembered a classmate from university, who came from a rural area of the city. That classmate said she did piecework over the summer, picking aconite with her family to sell. And there were specialists who bought it. One person could earn 10 to 20,000 a month. Zhou Shuan planned to visit that classmate's hometown but, fearing her mother's worry, did not tell her the truth. She chatted briefly with the squad leader last night, asked what the classmate's hometown was called, then checked the route. It wasn't far. She started the navigation, got on the highway, and arrived in a little over an hour. She walked around the unfamiliar town, and indeed saw many shops buying aconite and agricultural products. Some were on the main street, elaborately decorated. Others were tucked in village alleys, with small storefronts and a messy pile of several large burlap sacks. But there was a lively flow of people. Zhou Shuan had originally planned to buy from local people. But it was even better to buy directly from these shops. She went to a few stores to ask and learned that it wasn't the season for collecting aconitum roots. But if she needed a large quantity, they did have stock 60 yuan per jean. Zhou Shuan asked about precautions, and then ordered 500 jean, 30,000 yuan. Her quantity wasn't large. A small shop could easily gather it for her. A few big bags were enough to load onto the van. She took another trip, wandered around the small town again, and bought some other Chinese herbs, those for clearing heat, reducing fever, treating coughs and so on, plus herbs for dressing external injuries. It's just a pity that this place doesn't produce sanqi. Now that Chinese medicine prices have risen across the board, they were much higher than before. The other herbs Zhou Shuan purchased didn't look like much individually, but together they cost over 20,000. It wasn't until mid-afternoon that she drove back. On the way she was still thinking that once she returned to J City, she should find a well-known veteran TCM doctor to write some prescriptions, then buy a batch of herbs according to those prescriptions. After the apocalypse, many medical devices lost their effectiveness, and traditional Chinese medicine was used even more. She was just letting her thoughts wander when suddenly raindrops began pattering outside the car. Zhou Shuan was stunned. In her memory, the apocalypse had begun slowly with rain during the Qingming festival. But there was still more than a week until Qingming. How could it be raining so early? The rain didn't seem light. Could it be that the apocalypse has come early? Zhou Shuan panicked for a moment. After being reborn, although she knew life would be hard after the end times, she had already experienced it once. So she felt relatively certain and resolved to accept whatever came. But what if this life is different from her last? Her memory held the order and timing of various disasters. If all that had shifted, how could she protect her parents and Mumu? Just as she was panicking, the phone rang. Zhong Tian asked anxiously, Wanwan, where are you? Are you back yet? Zhou Shuan steadied herself. Mom, I'm on the highway. I'll be back in about an hour. Make sure you be careful. I just saw on the news that some places had hail. Has it hailed where you are? Zhou Shuan felt a pang of dread. In my previous life, on Qingming festival when it rained, in some places hail suddenly fell, punching holes in cars that were driving, and many pedestrians who didn't take shelter in time were injured. The apocalypse really began. Chapter 13. Perilous situations. Don't. Before the words finished, hail the size of walnuts suddenly pounded against the car. The staccato of brakes rose and fell, followed by the sounds of cars colliding and people's screams. At the critical moment, the emergency skills Zhou Shuan honed through countless life-and-death situations in her previous life came into play. The rear of her car was hit as well, but she calmly and steadily kept control of the vehicle. Seeing the tunnel ahead, she slammed on the brakes and plowed through the hail and torrential rain. As soon as she entered the tunnel, she pulled the car over to the emergency lane. Besides her, some other quick-reacting drivers had also driven in and parked one after another in the emergency lane. Zhong Tiyun's anxious voice still came through the Bluetooth headset. Wanwan. Wanwan. But the signal was intermittent inside the tunnel. And Zhou Shuan answered loudly several times, Mom. I'm Fine. Only after confirming the person on the other end had heard him did he hang up, take out the emergency light and glow sticks from the storage space, and get out to check the situation. The car window had been smashed with 2 holes, and the body was dented and battered, but it wasn't too bad, it could still be driven. Others also got out to inspect things, sighing and cursing, their voices filling the dim tunnel. Zhou Shuan placed the emergency light and glow sticks a short distance behind the car. Suddenly, 2 men dressed like soldiers strode over. Miss, do you still have those glow sticks? Could we borrow 2? Zhou Shuan looked over, somewhat surprised. It turned out to be the Special Forces soldier who had stopped her that day. The other party seemed to remember at once and quickly sized her up. Though it was odd a college student driving an obviously cargo van on the highway, was she working a side job? But he didn't ask out loud. Another young soldier following behind him also recognized her and smiled. So it was you, Captain, the college student we ran into outside XX University town. A top student, what a coincidence. Zhou Shuan still said nothing. Seeing the wariness in her eyes, the captain said, There's hail outside right now, too many accidents. My teammates and I need to maintain order and use the glow sticks. Don't worry, we'll return them afterwards. Zhou Shuan saw that the other Special Forces soldiers had already gone to maintain order. 2 of them were even standing dangerously in the middle of the tunnel entrance, holding emergency lights and waving their hands outward. Now the tunnel was packed with cars and people. If a traffic accident occurred, the consequences would be unthinkable. There are things Zhou Shuan would not do, but that does not stop her from admiring those who would. The soldiers of the Huaxia nation, whether in her past life or now, genuinely earned her respect. She didn't hesitate and immediately said, Wait a moment. She pretended to be taking something from the back of the van, but in fact she pulled out 3 glow sticks and 2 long-range flashlights from her space. She didn't dare take too many, otherwise others would be suspicious. The leader took them and said thank you very solemnly. Zhou Shuan saw that their group was well organized. Some maintained order inside the tunnel, while others put on their protective gear and rushed out directly to rescue people. She felt moved, thought for a moment, then pretended to go back to the car, and took out several emergency kits. They were outdoor survival emergency kits bought online: alcohol swabs, cotton swabs, gauze, hemostatic clamps, etc., ready to use as soon as opened. She couldn't help much otherwise. But providing these items was at least doing her part. These used emergency kits can be restocked when we get back. She handed the emergency kit to that team leader, who was speaking into the earpiece about the situation here. He looked at what Zhou Shuan was holding and was momentarily taken aback. Zhou Shuan hurriedly smiled and found an excuse. I'm a wilderness survival enthusiast. Take them and see if they're useful. Qi Mingyu clicked his heels and gave a crisp military salute. Thank you. Zhou Shuan was startled, then a bit embarrassed, hurriedly saying, Compared to you this is nothing. Qi Mingyu didn't say more. He glanced at her, took the item, nodded once to acknowledge, then turned and carried it to his teammate. Many of the wounded were carried into the tunnel to be settled, and numerous people with first aid knowledge took part in the treatment. An ambulance braved the hail and rushed over, making trips to the hospital one after another. The unfortunate dead were placed to one side, their heads covered with clothing or bags. People at this scene had never seen anything like it before. The survivors huddled together, some afraid, some crying, and the atmosphere was very heavy. Zhou Shuan had also studied first aid, and in her previous life she had experienced death several times, so she was well practiced. She did not rest but joined in the treatment. There were simply very few medical supplies. There was little they could do beyond trying to stop the bleeding and waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Zhou Shuan moved quickly. Compared with the other frantic first responders, she was much more methodical, handling bandaging and emergency care perfectly. But still there were several severely injured people who slowly stopped breathing under Zhou Shuan's hands. She pressed her lips together and silently went to the next casualty. Suddenly, someone shouted, "The hail has stopped, the hail has stopped." The survivors erupted into cheers. They had been trapped here for over an hour, confined with the dead and the wounded wailing in pain, feeling as if they were in a hell on earth and desperate to get away. More ambulances arrived and took the injured away. More specialist doctors also joined the rescue efforts. Zhou Shuan was fine, but there had just been a major traffic accident outside, causing a blockage. Only a barely cleared lane remained for ambulances, so the survivors still couldn't leave. Zhou Shuan sat down by the roadside to rest, listening to the wounded moaning and screaming in pain. Feeling heavy at heart. The apocalypse had truly begun. These tragedies would happen often from now on. It was also fortunate that she was lucky enough the perilous situation just now was only a rear-end collision. She was largely unharmed, otherwise everything she had prepared since her rebirth would have been for nothing. She's dead. Her space will probably disappear with her. Without enough supplies, Mom and Dad and Mumu will surely suffer the same tragedy as in the previous life. Zhou Shuan crossed her arms, warning herself once more that this apocalypse was different from the last life. From now on she couldn't take things for granted. She had to think everything through before acting and be careful in all matters. Here. A bottle of water was handed over, along with a few compressed biscuits. Zhou Shuan looked up, and saw that it was the Special Forces captain from earlier. Now that professionals like doctors, traffic police, and officers were on site, they could step back. Thank you. Having rushed about for more than 2 hours, Zhou Shuan only now realized she was tired and hungry and her throat was hoarse. So she took the water and drank a large mouthful. Qi Mingyu sat beside her, tore open a compressed biscuit and handed it to her. You did very well just now. Have you received specialized first aid training? Aside from the professional medics, she performed almost as well as those Special Forces soldiers. But they were all hardened by life-and-death experiences. She was just a young college student. How could she be so well trained? Chapter 14. Everyone sees threats in every tree and bush. Zhou Shuan glanced at him. Seeing curiosity but no other meaning on his heroic face, she nodded. I'm an outdoor survival enthusiast, so I once took a training course. Qi Mingyu nodded thoughtfully. By the way, did you catch anyone? Qi Mingyu looked puzzled. Weren't you guys in the university district that day looking for a very beautiful dangerous woman? Qi Mingyu smiled faintly and nodded. The people have been handed over. We were supposed to leave today. Didn't expect to run into something like this. He looked toward the tunnel entrance and sighed softly. Never thought it would actually hail, and that so many would be killed or injured. Zhou Shuan's heart skipped a beat as she discreetly sized him up. What did he mean by that? Could he also know that the apocalypse was coming? But he seemed to have only sighed casually, then stared out in silence, his expression grave. Zhou Shuan carefully reconsidered his words and thought she had overreacted. He might have meant something else. Like maybe he was talking about the weather forecast or something. She had been jumpy over nothing. Qi Mingyu reviewed the news he'd heard over the past few days and, having been wavering before, finally made up his mind. It's time to be discharged. He glanced at Zhou Shuan. Because of her behavior today, he had a good impression of her, so he deliberately asked, classmate, you go to university in S City. Where's your hometown? Zhou Shuan found the question oddly personal, but she still answered, in the north. My hometown's in the north too. Qi Mingyu smiled and said, after something like today, life really is unpredictable. Qingming is coming up soon. You should take time off and go home early. Your parents must be worried about you. Zhou Shuan stared into the other's eyes, calm and gentle, yet carrying the resolve honed on the battlefield. She looked at him with a questioning expression. Qi Mingyu's face was steady, showing no sign of agitation. The information we've received internally is that the weather will be bad from now on. If you go back for Qingming, travel might be difficult. If you encounter hail like today. He paused, but the implication was clear. Zhou Shuan suppressed the waves of shock in her heart, smiled and thanked him. All right, I'll discuss it with my parents. Qi Mingyu nodded, ate 2 compressed biscuits, thought for a moment, then took out his phone and said, I'll give you back the glow stick, but the emergency kit has already been used. How much did you spend? I'll add you on WeChat and transfer it to you. Zhou Shuan was taken aback, hurriedly shaking her head. No need, no need, I was just helping out voluntarily. You're still a student. Your living expenses come from your parents. Besides, you saved a lot of people today. The other party was very insistent. Zhou Shuan was already sure these special forces soldiers must know some inside information. In that case, adding them on WeChat could be a way to inquire about things. She didn't hesitate further and readily exchanged contact information with them. Qi Mingyu asked 2 more times. Failing to learn the price, he transferred her 500. Zhou Shuan didn't accept it. She only, as she left, solemnly thanked the other person. No matter how the other person learned the news, the fact that they reminded her to hurry back and reunite with her family made her grateful. On the drive home she received several more calls from Zhou Jianghai and Zhong Tiyun. If it hadn't been for repeated persuading, Zhong Tiyun would have already taken a taxi and rushed over. The hail only fell in the suburbs this time. The urban area wasn't affected, but there was still widespread rain. And there were few pedestrians on the road. Zhou Shuan returned to her family warehouse late. Zhong Tiyun was busy putting away goods while anxiously looking around. When she saw Zhou Shuan's van, she hurried over holding an umbrella. As soon as she got out of the car she grabbed her and inspected her from head to toe. Wanwan, are you okay? Is there? Her voice stopped. Zhou Shuan had just been helping with the rescue and her clothes were stained with blood. Zhong Tiyun's face went pale. She thought she had been injured. Su Shuan hurriedly explained, Mom, I'm fine. There was hail over there, and too many car accidents. I helped lift people and bandage wounds and things like that. This blood got on me. Only then did Zhong Tiyun breathe out and complain, You child, you really make people worry. Your father and I kept regretting it on the phone today. You've only been driving for a few days. I should have gone. You should have stayed home and watched the warehouse. But in reality, it was because Zhou Shuan had a space. It was most convenient for her to go out and collect supplies. She smiled, then soothed her mother with a few words. Zhong Tiyun had a head full of questions, but with several people unloading in front of their warehouse, she had to keep them to herself. It was already nearing evening and the weather was bad. After the delivery people finished unloading and left, the mother and daughter closed the warehouse door. Zhong Tiyun couldn't wait to ask her, Wanwan, what's with this hail today? And the rain this time? Is it related to that apocalypse you mentioned? She lowered her voice when she said the 2 words apocalypse. Zhou Shuan nodded slowly. Mom, in the previous life the rain started on tomb sweeping day. At first it was light rain, then gradually became heavy, and within a few days it turned into a downpour. And then a few small hailstorms happened. But now it's not quite the same as in my memory. It went straight to heavy rain and hail. So, is the apocalypse coming faster now, leaving people even less time to prepare? She looked a little dazed. Zhong Tiyun grew a bit anxious. Then Wanwan, shouldn't we hurry back? Your dad and Mumu are still at home. We don't want to be unable to get back. What left the deepest impression on her when Zhou Shuan talked about the apocalypse was families torn apart, each surviving on their own. So tragic. In her mind, even if the apocalypse was terrible, as long as the family stayed together and worked together, there was nothing to fear. Zhou Shuan hurriedly nodded. Mom, don't worry, I already bought high-speed rail tickets. We'll return tomorrow at noon. How many households goods do we still have left? Now high-speed trains are fast, even more convenient than planes. Only then did Zhong Tiyun relax. Holding the list as she ticked off the orders, 3 more households. It's fine. I'll call them now and tell them to deliver early tomorrow morning. It had just started raining, affecting people's travel, but deliveries weren't much impacted. 2,000 takeout orders had already been placed, just waiting for Zhou Shuan to come pick them up. It would be too wasteful not to. But Zhong Tiyun insisted that she wouldn't let Zhou Shuan go alone. With no other choice, Zhou Shuan had to drive back together with her mother. Sitting in the car, Zhong Tiyun noticed 2 holes in the window glass. Evidence of how urgent the situation had been. She felt a chill of fear and gripped her daughter's hand tightly. Zhou Shuan was a little shaken too. Remembering what the Special Forces soldier had said earlier, she told her mother about it. Zhong Tiyun nodded repeatedly. True, an apocalypse is such a big deal. Abnormal weather, climate disasters, the state can't have missed it. That Special Forces soldier you mentioned must know something inside, which is why he warned you. If the goods still don't arrive tomorrow, Let's just drop it and get out of here. Zhou Shuan, however, was deep in thought. Did the state really know about the apocalypse in her past life? If so, why didn't they warn the public? Or is this life different from the last? Chapter 15 Moving House. Even though the state detected the recent abnormal weather and took precautions, after an all-encompassing tsunami, countless cities were flooded and countless advanced devices were destroyed. Humans could barely survive on high ground and in the upper floors served by elevators, and the state and government no longer had the capacity to monitor future natural disasters. Put the 2,000 food deliveries into the space in batches. Zhou Shuan and her mother had just returned, had a proper shower, and when she came out her mother was already packing. This house had originally been planned for their daughter to live in from freshman to senior year, so when they first rented it, Father Zhou and Mother Zhong both came to redo the furnishings. The living room sofa, the bedroom air conditioner, the desk, and the kitchen pots, bowls and utensils were all newly bought by her family. It would be a pity to throw them away. These would all be non-renewable items from now on. So Zhou Shuan simply stored them all in her space. When the space was truly full, she piled everything on the coal, separating them with a layer of tarpaulin. She didn't know how to disassemble the air conditioner. Zhong Tiyun had more experience than her and, after fumbling for a while, finally managed to take it apart. The mother and daughter teamed up to carry it down and put it into the space. The quilts and clothes from the wardrobe, the computer chair, books, and so on. Having the space was convenient, and in an instant everything was neatly stored away. Zhong Tiyun smiled from ear to ear. This space is really convenient for moving. Zhou Shuan took out her phone, thought for a moment, and called her senior, Zhang Jia. She sent the other party a package when she went to the city yesterday. Inside were 2 50-kilogram bags of rice, 50 packs of dried noodles, and 10 packs of dried wood ear mushrooms and kelp nuts, plus 50 bottles of condiments. Also 5 bottles of alcohol, 5 emergency kits, and several boxes of fever medicine and antibiotics. Enough to keep one person fed for a long time. I guess senior sister received the package today. She hadn't decided how to remind her. But after hearing that Special Forces soldier earlier, she deliberately said it in a grave way. Senior sister, did you hear about the hailstorm in the suburbs today? Shuan. I heard about it. The news said many people died. It's really tragic. Senior, I was actually there too. A cry came from that side, and Zhou Shuan continued. I also took part in some of the first aid. There were several Special Forces soldiers keeping order. After the injured were all taken away, one of the Special Forces told me to hurry and buy a ticket home. He said they'd received word internally that the weather would be bad for a long time, and hail like today's might happen again. Since we're all studying away from home, we might as well ask for leave and go back now. Then come back when the weather improves. Zhang Jia hesitated for a moment, asking incredulously, really? Is it that serious? Yes. Zhou Shuan knew no one would believe the news right away, so she said directly. I told my mom. She said when the hail came down I scared her to death while I was outside. She'd rather have me take a semester off than not let me go home with her. The other party was surprised. Your aunt told you to take time off? Yes, we've already bought our high-speed rail tickets. We're leaving tomorrow. Shuan, are you serious? It can't be. It's only been raining heavily for one day. The other person still found it hard to believe. Zhou Shuan sighed inwardly. Precisely because the rain had lasted so briefly, she knew no one would believe her, so she kept hesitating about how to warn her senior. She thought for a moment, imitating the idea of that Special Forces soldier. Senior, don't you want to travel too? Why don't you ask the counselor for a few days off, go home and stay until Qingming, and after Qingming come find me. I'll take you around our city. J City has mountains and waters. It's a famous scenic area. Zhang Jia and she were both from the same province, just not from the same city. So in her past life she had no hesitation in helping Zhou Shuan, not only because she was righteous, but also because the two of them were from the same hometown. Coming from the same province, people living away from home naturally feel close to fellow townspeople. Zhang Jia felt a little moved, but was still somewhat hesitant. Senior, I'm just asking for a few days off first. Anyway, we'll be going home for tomb sweeping day. After we get back we'll see the weather. if it's fine we'll come back again. My mother also said, better to believe there's something than to believe there's nothing. The final line really moved Zhang Jia. She thought for a moment and said to Zhou Shuan, actually, Shuan, I'll tell you quietly I have my doubts too. This noon I received a big package. It was heavy as lead. And I had Kuei Shu help carry it back. When I opened it, guess what was inside? Rice, dried noodles, sauces, an emergency kit, but the sender was unknown. And the phone number was a dead line. It's as if someone knew the weather would be bad and you couldn't go out, so they specially sent emergency supplies to me. Zhou Shuan pretended to be surprised. Really? That's true. If the weather is bad you'd better stock up on supplies. I'll tell my mom too. After we get home we'll buy some rice, flour, and cooking oil to keep at the house. Zhang Jia nodded. If it were just one person that would be one thing. But now she had first received emergency supplies and then been reminded by her junior. It was clear the Special Forces soldiers' warning to Shu Wan must have been justified. She decided, like Zhou Shuan, to go home first and worry about the rest later. All right, Shuan, I'll ask the counselor for leave first, then buy a ticket to go back, she said. Sounding a bit troubled, what about Kuei Shu? He probably won't want me to go back. Zhao Kuei-shu was from the same province, not the same place as Zhang Jia. Zhou Shuan narrowed her eyes and advised, his family is local. If anything really happens, he can just take a taxi home. We're too far from home. I think we should go back and check things out. Besides, it's not like we're not coming back. Just tell him you're going back to visit me. By the way, senior, that Special Forces soldier repeatedly told me not to tell this to anyone outside. Afraid it would cause panic, so be careful too. Okay, Shuan, thank you. I'll think about how to tell Kuei Shu. When the weather gets better after we return, I'll really come find you. My mom says you're very welcome. Help me thank Auntie. Zhang Jia laughed heartily over there, then hung up the phone. Zhong Tiyun had been sitting beside her listening since Zhou Shuan's call. After she hung up, she asked, is this the senior who helped you yesterday? Zhou Shuan nodded and recounted how in her past life the other person had taken her in for half a year, and the two had later set off north together. Mom, the journey north was too dangerous. The senior was later wounded in a vital spot by a group stealing supplies and died soon after. I even made it back home, but she died along the way. So I wanted to help her, but she was a little reluctant to leave her boyfriend. Zhou Shuan only spoke a few offhand words, but from that senior's injury and death it was clear how dangerous the apocalypse was. Her Wanwan had always been raised on a silver platter. How could she endure such hardships? These days, Zhong Tiyun was invisible during the day. At night when she slept alone, thinking about these things kept her awake for entire nights, worried about how they would live in the post-apocalyptic world. She ached for Wanwan over the suffering she endured in her dreams. Good evening. Just do your best. Once we're back, if the weather still hasn't improved, call her more to persuade her. Zhou Shuan nodded. It was late. After Zhong Tiyun fell asleep, Zhou Shuan only then left the room. She wore practical sportswear, her hair tied into a bun at the back, put on a mask, grabbed an umbrella, and stepped out. She contacted Lin Youyang's roommate during the day and learned that he hadn't been returning home at night for the past few days. He was either playing games at an internet cafe, or drowning his sorrows with booze at the night market stalls. Chapter 16 Revenge. There were only a few internet cafes in the university town. Looking through them one by one, it was easy to find the man with a defeated expression playing games. Zhou Shuan glanced at the surrounding cameras, her eyes narrowing. After a short while, when Lin Youyang got up to make instant noodles, he accidentally bumped Fulin into two youths with vicious faces and a sleeve of tattoos. A whole bucket of instant noodles was spilled all over them. Lin Youyang was startled and hurriedly apologized. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Before he could finish, one of them slammed a fist at him. You're asking to die. Lin Youyang fell to the ground, stars in his eyes, his nose bleeding. He was angry too. I told you it wasn't on purpose. Why do you have the right to beat someone? Beat him. Beat him up. Damn it, seeing you like this makes me unhappy. Another young man cursed, squatted down, grabbed Lin Youyang by the hair and slapped him several times. Lin Youyang was stunned from the beating. He struggled to get up and fight back a few times, but was quickly pinned to the ground by the two of them and beaten again. Some people in the crowd were watching for amusement. Some stepped forward to mediate, and some called the police. Opinions varied. Zhou Shuan stood in a dark corner, expressionless the whole time. By the time the police car sirens wailed, Lin Youyang's face had been beaten into a bloody pulp, and two of his teeth were knocked out. The two young men had already run off when they heard the siren. Lin Youyang's mouth and nose were bloody, he mumbled incoherently and couldn't speak. The police had no choice but to question the onlookers. What could the situation be? He'd simply accidentally provoked two thugs. Those two punks were very experienced at beating people. From the look of his wounds, Lin Youyang seemed seriously injured, but if he went to the hospital for an examination, it would only count as minor injuries, hardly enough to do anything to them. He took that beating for nothing. Zhou Shuan met with two young men at a forestry farm outside the university town. Heavy rain, midnight. Unable to see a hand in front of your face, Zhou Shuan tossed the promised 20,000 yuan to them. Brother Zhao, this 20,000 of mine isn't just payment for today's beating. The young man surnamed Zhao had a simple, honest face and narrow eyes, but when he squinted there was a frighteningly ruthless look about him. That won't do. The police are watching us right now. We can't raise a hand anymore. No need to do it now, Zhou Shuan said lightly. Not only the 20,000 in payment, I've also sent Brother Zhao something. Just check and accept it. In 6 months' time, please help me teach that Lin family a lesson again. What is this? Zhao Chong frowned. What do you mean by waiting 6 months? Zhou Shuan smiled faintly. I heard people say Brother Zhao is the most loyal and least willing to owe favors among all the knights. So in 6 months' time, please let Brother Zhao not forget the one who dug the well when he drinks the water. Zhao Chong listened, even more puzzled. Don't worry, Brother Zhao. My demand is simple. The payment I'm offering is enough to buy Lin Youyang a leg. Zhao Chong frowned, and the other young man immediately blurted out, we won't hurt him. Beating someone and maiming someone are two different things. Zhou Shuan smiled. If by then you two feel uncomfortable, that's fine too. It's up to Brother Zhao. I won't insist. After saying that, she turned and left. Wait, can you tell me what grudge Lin Youyang has against you? Zhao Chong suddenly shouted. Zhou Shuan stopped, hesitated, then said, it's a deep blood feud. I can't take revenge myself, so I have to trouble Brother Zhao. The two people behind, Zhao Chong included, were baffled and didn't understand what Zhou Shuan meant at all. This really was a muddled mission. Zhou Shuan headed home leisurely. This Zhao Chong was a young man from a village near the university town. Very poor, but after the apocalypse he and some other young villagers formed the Flame Gang. He was the leader. Although they also looted supplies and set up checkpoints at the village entrance to collect tolls, they couldn't be considered good people. But in his previous life, Zhao Chong was a notorious gang leader known for his loyalty, and for repaying even the smallest kindness 100-fold. Completely unlike Lin Youyang's ruthlessness, the two had clashed many times over territory and supplies. After Zhou Suwen was reborn, besides gathering supplies, she secretly looked for Zhao Chong, learned which village he lived in, and once she found someone there it became very easy. Especially after discovering that he was now making a living as a hired thug. She gradually devised a plan in her mind. It's still a society governed by law, and cameras are everywhere. She wanted to kill Lin Youyang to avenge herself. But she couldn't risk getting herself involved. When the apocalypse arrived, she and her mom would certainly have left long before. If they met again, it would very likely be 8 years later. A blood feud like that, how could it be avenged in an uncertain future? So, Zhao Chong was the person she chose to help her get revenge. The things she mailed to Zhao Chong were all foodstuffs that could be stored for years. Hardtack, canned meat, instant noodles, dried goods, enough for him and his 9-year-old sister to eat for 2 years. In her previous life, the rumor she heard was that because their family was poor and after the apocalypse they lacked clothes and food, Zhao Chong's little sister, being young, quickly died of malnutrition. So she had even sent 2 boxes of milk powder, not a huge amount, but enough to at least help sustain the child's nutrition. She also wrote a note on the package. Do not give away. She wrote it 3 times. Important things are said 3 times. If 6 months from now Zhao Chong can remember the true meaning of when drinking water. Don't forget those who dug the well. then Lin Youyang's doomsday will have arrived. She wouldn't kill him for now. She would break one of his legs and see how he, who once commanded winds and waves and committed every evil, would scramble to survive in this life. The next day, the mother and daughter tidied up and, while going downstairs, ran into an unexpected person. It was Zhao Shanshan. Her face looked somewhat haggard. Standing under an umbrella at the building entrance of the complex, she hurried over as soon as she saw Zhou Shuan and, faltering, called out, "Wan Wan." The weather had been getting warmer, but with the rain in the past 2 days it had turned cool again. If Zhou Shuan didn't come downstairs soon, she couldn't hold on any longer. A delicate tone. A timid expression. In her past life, the other person liked to use that expression to pue Lin Youyang together with her. A surge of indescribable nausea and suffocation rose in Zhou Shuan's heart. She ignored her and walked straight out. Mrs. Zhong recognized the girl who had tried to steal her daughter's boyfriend and sneered. College students these days look so neat and pure, who knows what disgusting things they do behind people's backs. Aunt Zhong Zhao Shanshan's eyes instantly reddened, and crystalline tears rolled down her fair little face. Zhong Tian immediately took a combative stance. "I'm not a man, and I don't have a habit of pitying delicate beauties. Put away your seductive act you use on men." Zhong Mama's tone was not polite at all. Even though Zhao Shanshan could act and pretend, she now felt her face burning with pain. She saw that Zhou Shuan truly didn't want to say a word to her, and was walking straight out, gritting her teeth. She still caught up and grabbed her arm. "Wan Wan, listen to me explain." Smack. Before she could finish, she got slapped across the face by Zhou Shuan. She covered her face, and now the tears really began to fall. Chapter 17. Zhao Shanshan's Hell. Zhou Shuan looked at her coldly. "Zhao Shan, although you've been lying to me for over a year, and although you're the homewrecker everyone shouts to beat, I think a man who, while having a girlfriend, still messes around with her best friend is more at fault. The greater fault lies with that man. So while I was solely focused on dealing with Lin Youyang, instead of hiding quietly in a corner, why did you come out to show off and make yourself noticed? You think that if you come to me crying and acting cute, I'll let it go like before and forgive you?" "Wan Wan, no, I didn't. I didn't do it on purpose. Did Lin Youyang seduce you with sweet talk, or did he force himself on you with violence?" Zhou Shuan's expression was full of derision. Zhao Shanshan suddenly fell silent, unable to say anything. "Wan Wan, no, it's not. Zhou Shuan's patience was completely exhausted. She looked at the other person with cold indifference. There was a kind of apathetic cruelty in her eyes, one that had been steeped in the apocalypse. For some reason, coming into contact with eyes like hers made Zhao Shanshan shiver involuntarily. She had originally been trying to retrieve Lin Youyang's jade pendant for him. The latter had been beaten twice in the past few days, not sure by whom, black and blue, limping when she walked. Too embarrassed to come get her things back herself, she sent her instead. She couldn't bear to lose a 10th of Sandiyuan set of jewelry, so she came anyway, thick-skinned. But she hadn't expected that in just a few days, Zhou Shuan's bearing had changed dramatically, compared to before. She was like a different person. She felt a little afraid of this new her. The words about returning the pendant rolled around on the tip of her tongue, but she couldn't bring herself to say them. "Wan Wan, don't waste words on her, let's go. The rain's getting heavier." Mother and daughter had stored most of their things in the space, but for convenience on the road, Mrs. Zhong still packed 2 backpacks for them to carry and held umbrellas. "Zhao Shan, take care of yourself." Zhou Shuan looked at her with a complex expression. At this moment, the beautiful, gentle woman overlapped with the haggard, aged, skin and bones wife 8 years into the apocalypse. She shamelessly clung on, willingly becoming the other woman to follow Lin Youyang. But was she really living well? Zhao Shanshan stared blankly as they left, suddenly thinking, judging by their manner, are they going to leave? Zhou Shuan and her mother cast it out of their minds and hurried off to the warehouse to collect the goods. Fortunately, the merchants were trustworthy. Although the weather was poor, they still insisted on delivering the goods early in the morning. After tidying up the warehouse one last time, Zhong Tian braved the rain and drove out a few more times, pretending to transport goods. Not until 11 did the two of them brave the heavy rain and go to the high-speed railway station. Once on the train, Zhou Shuan sent Zhang Jiao a WeChat message. Senior, my mother and I are on the train. We'll see you when we get back. Zhang Jia quickly replied on WeChat. Shuan, Kuei-shu doesn't agree to me going back. I'm negotiating with him now. I wish you an smooth journey. Zhou Shuan sighed softly. In the previous life, before Zhao Kuei-shu revealed his true nature, the senior really had placed him on a pedestal and cared about his every move, so she had long suspected that it wouldn't be easy for the senior to return. Actually, not just senior sister, she was the same. After falling in love in her previous life, she completely lost herself, getting lost in the web of love the other person wove. Lin Yuyang. She closed her eyes. The next time they met, it would be a life for a life. As for Zhao Shanshan, her feelings toward Zhao Shanshan were actually somewhat complicated. In her previous life, she once deeply hated the other woman for being the other woman and stabbing her in the back. But later Lin Yuyang locked Zhou Shuan up. And in order to recruit members, he proactively sent people to bring his ex-girlfriend LJ to him. Actually, Zhao Shanshan was very shocked at the time, but she did not dare disobey Lin Yuyang's orders. When the latter went out to search for supplies, she even secretly gave Zhou Shuan some food, but didn't dare to let her leave. Later Zhou Shuan and her senior Zhang Jia escaped north from the rented complex, but Zhao Shanshan remained constantly attached to Lin Yuyang's side. No one knew what the other had done to her. When they met again 8 years later, Zhao Shanshan had long since lost the youthful beauty she once had. Her whole body was as thin as a stick, seeming to have aged more than 20 years. Rather than being obedient to Lin Yuyang, she was deeply frightened of him. When he said he would attack Zhou Shuan from both front and rear, her numb, stupefied eyes flickered, but she quickly seized a dagger and charged. So, Zhao Shanshan didn't need her to take revenge at all. The 8 years she spent by Lin Yuyang's side in the apocalypse should have been hell for her. The high-speed train was fast. After transferring once in the provincial capital, at 8 in the evening, Dad Zhou was right on time waiting at the train station exit. Where's Mumu? It had been a few days since she had seen their youngest son, and Zhong Tiyun was very worried. Watching TV at home, Zhou Jianghai laughed and scolded, "That brat, I've been busy renovating these past few days and couldn't pay attention to him. When he gets back from school, he just sticks to the TV. Then you should keep an eye on him. He's so young he could ruin his eyes watching TV." Zhong Tiyun nagged out of habit. Yes. Now that you two are back, won't someone be there to look after that brat?" Zhou Jianghai replied in a good-natured tone. After being reborn and returning, although his mother stayed by his side, the two of them were always busy stockpiling supplies and didn't talk much. Seeing her parents joking together just as in her memories, Zhou Shuan's heart, which had been uneasy from the sudden arrival of the apocalypse, slowly calmed. She watched the scene with a smile. By the time the door opened and she stepped inside, she hadn't even glanced at the messy living room before a warm, soft little creature lunged into her arms. Mumu, only 8 years old, suddenly threw herself at her and buried into her embrace. "Sister, you're finally back. I missed you so much." Zhou Shuan was more than 10 years older than Mumu and had always doted on him at home. So Mumu was also very close to his sister. But that was before the apocalypse. For Zhou Shuan, this was the first time she had seen Mumu 8 years after the end of the world. Her body still tensed because she couldn't bear anyone getting close to her, but tears had long since fallen. She crouched down, stroked Mumu's head, and examined him carefully from top to bottom. Fair-skinned and tender, her face still bore the baby fat typical of children. Yet she already had the look of a bigger kid. Mumu inherited Zhou Dad's long limbs and handsome brows and eyes. He was the kind of little cutie that all the aunties adored. "Sis, why are you crying?" Mumu reached out his small hand to wipe her tears, his big eyes full of confusion and alarm. Zhou Dad and Mom Zhong exchanged a glance. The latter gave him a slight shake of her head. She looked at Zhou Shuan's tense, rigid body and sighed deeply in her heart. It wasn't until that night when they were going to sleep that she told Zhou Jianghai what was on her mind. "Jianghai, you need to be mentally prepared. Wanwanshi." "What is it?" Zhou Jianghai had just finished bathing and was drying his hair. At her words he immediately turned his head to look at her. The motion so quick it seemed to twist his neck. He reached out and rubbed his neck a few more times, his tone sullen. "What were you going to say?" That sudden line scared me. Zhou Shuan was the first child in the family and a girl, so she was most doted on by Zhou Jianghai. Zhong Tiyun fumbled for words, thinking as she slowly began, one might have that psychological trauma stress disorder. I looked it up online. This is roughly what it said. Chapter 18, Buying a House. Zhou Jianghai frowned tightly, even forgetting to wipe the hair. Zhong Tiyun sighed. I've been staying with Wanwan these past few days and found that she really hates or is afraid of being touched. If you accidentally touch her, she flinches all over. And she doesn't like to talk. She also doesn't sleep well at night. A few times I woke up in the middle of the night and thought I'd go check on her, pull a blanket over her or something. But as soon as I opened the door, I found she'd already been awakened, holding a kitchen knife, and watching me warily. The knife was even hidden under her pillow. She couldn't hold it in any longer and began to sob softly. Jianghai, looking at her like that, my heart aches as if it's being cut by a knife. I don't even know how much suffering she endured alone in the apocalypse, how much pain she went through, how many people bullied her, to become like this. I just want to help her, talk to her heart-o-heart, or have her see a psychologist, but I don't even dare to bring it up. What do you think we should do? Zhou Jianghai was silent for a long time before speaking. Ayun, Wanwan survived alone in the apocalypse for 8 years. She must be different from before. Some psychological stress reactions are normal. Look at those small countries at war abroad, not to mention children. Even adults more or less have some psychological problems. Wanwan has just been alone in the apocalypse for a long time. She had no parents or friends, so she's a little isolated, but that's normal. Don't let it show and make the child uncomfortable. Let's act like normal. Last time at dinner, Wanwan looked like she hadn't eaten her fill for many years. When you have free time, just make more of the things she likes. This time our whole family is together. We won't let Wanwan face those things alone anymore. I think little by little, Wanwan will get back to normal. Zhong Tiyun wiped her tears, thought for a moment and nodded. You're right. From now on we'll pay more attention to Wanwan. Listen when she says it will keep raining. I'm fine. I'll stay home and tinker with the food. If anything happens in the future, we as parents will rush to the front, but also watch our own safety. Don't leave the 2 children all alone. Zhou Jianghai nodded heavily. By the way, Grandma Peng looked after Mumu for a few days. We should bring something to her place to thank her properly. No need to remind me. I've already sent 2 boxes of milk and 2 boxes of fruit. That's good then. The next day, Zhou Shu got up late and checked the progress of the home's renovations. There wasn't much time, but Dad Zhou had thought things through. Anticipating rain later on, he focused first on the outdoor work. As a result, the tempered glass for the 7th floor terrace and the 2 large balconies on the 6th floor had all been installed. The custom glass is exactly the kind the manufacturer specified. High temperature resistant, acid rain resistant, tsunami resistant glass. The top floor of the 7th building also had 2 thick layers of insulation cotton added. At this point, the floors of the 7th and 6th floors had all been lifted to install electric underfloor heating equipment. When it comes to extreme cold, centralized heating is completely unreliable. You can only generate power and heat at home as you see fit. Zhou's dad runs a hardware store and has some experience repairing machines, so he'll be in charge of all the home's equipment from now on. Besides that, the ceilings and walls on the 6th and 7th floors were also lined with a layer of thermal insulation cotton. We bought a lot of insulation cotton. The leftovers are stored in the warehouse. We'll be able to use them a few more times. Zhou Shuan nodded. Once we got up to the 7th floor, I saw that the 2 large terraces still had a freestanding floor air conditioner, 3 wall units, a double-door fridge plus sofas, a dining table and chairs, and several big beds and mattresses. I don't even know how they were moved up. The appliances and furniture from the elevator apartment, since the place sold for cheap anyway. I figured these things would be hard to buy later. The stuff in our old house is all worn out. And if it breaks, we'll have to replace it. So I had workers take them down and bring them here. His voice dropped. Wanwan, later you can put them into your space. Zhou Shuan smiled. Okay, Dad. She then had her father call the shopkeeper to buy 2 large freezers, so they'd be convenient for freezing in the future. After arranging home delivery, Zhong Tiyun asked again, Dahai, how are our elevator apartment and storefront? Anyone interested? The storefront is in a great location. A lot of people were envious before. And today someone's ready to negotiate price and sign the contract. Our elevator apartment is listed cheap. Several agencies are promoting it. And a few people have already come to look these past few days. I didn't have time to go see it either, so I gave the keys to the agent and let them show people around themselves. But they only pay the down payment. Few pay in full. Zhou Shuan did the math and shook her head. Dad, if it doesn't work, drop the price by a few 10,000 and sell it for full payment. If we go through the mortgage process, it could take 2 to 3 months. And even if we get the money then, it'll be too late. She worried her parents would be reluctant. Dad, Mom, in a few months the money won't be worth as much. In the first few years after the apocalypse, even clutching wads of cash you couldn't buy a single bite of food. So if you could spend it quickly. Zhou Jianghai nodded. Okay, let's listen to Wanwan. I'll call the agent later and knock another 50,000 off. The whole family then started talking again about where to rent another warehouse. Zhou Jianghai has been thinking about this for the past 2 days as well. Ayun, Wanwan, I've thought about it too. You said the space storage isn't enough, and we need to find another place to store supplies. But when the apocalypse really comes, floods, tsunamis submerging half the city, how many people will be left without a place to live? By then, any high ground will surely be taken by people. Even if the warehouse is chosen out in the suburbs, it's not safe. Zhong Tian added. I've been worrying about this too. It isn't even safe under our noses. If we put it so far away, people could just take everything and we wouldn't even know. So, I was thinking we should take out 200,000 and buy gold to expand the space. Alright. They went to several banks and gold buying shops, bought 200,000 yuan worth of gold, and put it all into the space. The space immediately expanded by dozens of square meters. They could now store many more supplies. But the remaining money still needed to be used to buy items that couldn't be stocked even through the 0 yuan post-apocalypse purchases. Savings must not be touched under any circumstances. But after the apocalypse, gold became worthless. In her previous life when she went scavenging, many shops had evacuated so hastily they couldn't move their stock. And without ships, all kinds of gold jewelry and jadeite ended up soaking in the water. No one wanted them. Zhou Shuan was just waiting for a post-apocalypse zero-cost giveaway to expand her space. But now, then let's find a building in the neighborhood and stockpile some supplies. Zhou Jianghai said. But Wanwan said they'll be forcibly requisitioned when the time comes. Zhong Tiyun said. Wanwan, what if we borrow 200,000 from your second uncle to buy one? Old district apartments aren't worth much. A 100 square meter place tops out around 300,000. And a top-floor unit is even cheaper. You could get one for 200,000. Zhou Jianghai had clearly thought it through and continued. Tell them it's a loan for now. After the apocalypse, have your second uncle and his wife move in. The place will belong to them. And they won't lose out. Zhong Tiyun's eyes lit up. Jianghai, that's a good idea. Our family needs to stockpile supplies now. We really don't have extra money to buy gold. And we don't have money to buy a house either. Why not borrow 200,000 from my second brother? We can use it first to stockpile supplies, and after the apocalypse, have them move in so they'll have somewhere to go. It would also be their own house, so living there wouldn't feel as burdensome. She was actually very worried about her second brother's and third sister's families, and wanted to first find a way to remind them to stockpile supplies. If the flood comes and things get really bad, at least there would be a place to put them. Yes, exactly that. Wanwan, if we buy the house, will the government forcibly requisition it? Zhou Jianghai looked toward Zhou Shuan. The latter shook his head. It's possible that some homeowners are out of town and can't be contacted. So they'll arrange for disaster victims to move in directly. But since we're living in this complex, our opinion will carry the most weight. Then we can just say it was reserved for a relative. Zhou's father and Zhong's mother both showed relaxed smiles. Zhou Shuan sincerely admired her father as well. Old hands really are savvier. He'd thought of everything. 200,000 can buy a penthouse now, but after the apocalypse, who knows how many people with piles of cash still wouldn't be able to buy a single bathroom on an upper floor. Zhou Jianghai continued. I saw the weather forecast continuous heavy rain for half a month. The apocalypse late mentioned is probably about to start. We need to discuss how to warn our relatives. It's not too late to stockpile supplies. But we must not mention a single word about late's situation. Chapter 19 Warning the Relatives. Zhou Shuan was not opposed to reminding as many people as possible within her capabilities. Just like that Special Forces captain. She said to senior fellow student Zhang Jia what needed to be said. Zhou Jianghai was also surprised. If he's from the military, his words carry weight. This shows our country has already detected that the weather is abnormal. But why hasn't the public been warned? He murmured as he gazed out at the torrential rain. In Zhou Shuan's memory, the apocalypse began as a light drizzle, and only later turned into a torrential downpour, which quickly caused floods and tsunamis. But in this life, it began with a torrential downpour. She felt this opening had become considerably more difficult. How to warn them if it's really like Wanwan said. Once it's made public, it would probably throw the whole world into chaos immediately. We still have to prioritize maintaining stability. Zhong Tian said, our country might be okay, but what about abroad? Wouldn't it be a complete mess there? Zhou Jianghai thought for a moment, then sighed. Even now, he and his daughter's mother still hoped she had only had a dream. Even if they'd sold the house and spent all their money, as long as the apocalypse hadn't come, they'd be willing. Ayun, call second brother and third sister, and let them know. Zhou Jianghai is an only child. His grandparents have long since passed away. Only Zhong Tiyun's side has 2 relatives. Zhong Tiyun picked up her phone. I'll call your second uncle first. You don't need to worry about your third aunt's place. Zhou Shuan thought for a moment, then said to her mother, Mom, my third aunt's renovated house wasn't built well. In the dream, I couldn't make it back. But at first we could still keep in touch. Later when the tsunami hit, you told me that because the water had bubbled for months, although the tsunami didn't reach there, the elevator building at their place still collapsed. Zhong Tiyun was stunned and hurriedly asked, what about that person? Zhou Shuan shook her head. After that we couldn't get in touch anymore, so we don't know what happened to them. Zhong Tian clenched his teeth in anger and cursed. Wanwan, we need to tell your third aunt right away, and have them move. But is third aunt willing? Zhong Tian fell silent. Third aunt Zhong's family was also from the village. Third aunt's husband was lazy and fond of good food, never managing to save any money in his life. Their 2 sons didn't study hard either. They dropped out early to work. By the time the brothers grew up and married, the pressure to buy a house in the county city was too great. Just as they were worried. The family house back home was included in the county's new development plan, so it was demolished and they were compensated with 2 apartments, one for each son. With housing secured, marriage was no longer a problem. The older son married 2 years ago, and their child is now over 1 year old. Because money was tight, third aunt and third uncle gritted their teeth and finished 1 apartment, and the whole family squeezed into it. Because of that, the older daughter-in-law was always complaining that there were too many people at home. Of the 3 bedrooms, the young couple took one, third aunt and third uncle another, and the younger son the third. Now the child has been born, there's no spare bedroom, and they argue and get angry at home every day. Zhong Tiyun called Zhou Shuan's second uncle and third aunt in turn, and slowly said, I don't know when this rain will stop either. You need to stock up on food and drink. For the whole family. That Special Forces guy spoke very convincingly, so there's probably really something going on. Don't tell anyone else. Just quietly stock up. The second uncle grows vegetables in greenhouses back home, and lives by the weather. As soon as he heard that, he repeatedly agreed, Little sister, don't worry. I'll go with your sister-in-law to buy rice and flour right now. Buy more dried goods like dried tofu sticks, shiitake mushrooms, and wood ear vegetables might be hard to get later. Don't worry about the money, dried goods won't go bad, and will last a long time. And stock up on all kinds of seasonings. Second uncle agreed. When he heard Zhong Tian needed to borrow money, he agreed without a word. He repeatedly promised not to tell anyone about stockpiling supplies, then hung up. But it didn't go so smoothly with third aunt. Little sister, we still have a full sack of rice and half a bag of flour at home. That's enough to eat. Last time everyone talked about hoarding salt to stock 3 boxes, and we've only used half a box so far. Your brother-in-law will shout whenever it's mentioned. So I don't dare hoard things willy-nilly. Zhong Tian was a bit anxious. Third sister, this news is real this time. It came from people in their military. Their information is no less reliable than ours. Besides, buying rice and flour won't go bad once we've bought them. Storing them at home is better than having nowhere to buy when we need it later. Third aunt thought for a moment, then nodded. All right, I'll discuss it with your brother-in-law, and we'll each buy a bag of rice and flour. We should buy dried goods too. The call was already picked up by third uncle by then. Tian, don't worry about your sister. They've already been told not to hoard. Not to follow the crowd, why blow money on that? Zhong Tian hadn't had a chance to respond when the other end impatiently hung up. Zhong Tian nearly couldn't catch her breath. With his temper, how much hardship has third aunt suffered following him? Even in old age he's still like this, won't do any work, won't earn any money, won't take advice, has messed up both kids' lives, and won't even let relatives say a word. She'd just been laughing about Father Zhou. And now she was half furious at these unbearable relatives. Almost every relative of the big family had the next generation go to college. Only third aunt's 2 children dropped out early. This was related to the kids' lack of ambition, but even more so a problem of family upbringing. Third aunt's husband had been complaining since they were little that schooling costs money. They couldn't afford it, and the 2 sons came to collect debts. So just after starting middle school, both of third aunt's children quit school to go to work. Chapter 20. Who doesn't have a problematic relative in their family? Mom, you know what Uncle Third-in-law is like, don't be upset. Zhong Tian was sullen for a long while, then had to nod. There's nothing else we can do. Aside from Uncle Third-in-law, Aunt Third and the 2 older and younger male cousins in their family were quite decent. Besides reminding relatives, their family's responsibilities were also heavy. Buying an apartment in the development, renovating the house, wholesaling takeout, stockpiling other supplies. Erjiu transferred 200,000 yuan to Zhong Tian. And Zhou Jianghai called the agent to say his family wanted to buy another top-floor unit in their own development. Many units in the older complexes were listed for sale online. Mid- and low-floor units sold quickly. While top-floor units were hard to sell, some stayed listed for half a year or more without selling. So when Zhou Jianghai mentioned having 200,000 yuan in cash, the agent quickly pushed over the web pages for 3 top-floor units. Zhou Shuan and her father followed the agent to inspect the 3 houses. The old apartments were more or less the same. They finally chose the building closest to their home, immediately made an appointment with the owner, sat down to sign the contract, and paid in full. Zhou Jianghai called a locksmith to come change the locks, while he followed the agent to their office to sign the storefront lease, bustling non-stop. After the locks were changed, Zhou Shuan tightly closed the doors and windows before unpacking some supplies from the space that had been packed almost to bursting. The food must be securely stored in the space, but solar equipment and coal can be taken out temporarily. She had previously prepared a large tarpaulin, spread it on the 7th floor, and moved the coal and briquettes up there. There were also the solar devices, tents, and so on. This instantly freed up 60 to 70 square meters. Zhou Dad came back soon, a bit wistful on his face. Our storefront sold for 950,000. The sale price wasn't low anymore. The Zhou family's hardware shop had 2 floors, nearly 200 square meters in total, plenty of space. After buying another unit on the top floor, there was no money left in hand. The money from this hardware shop was a timely relief. But even so, Dad Zhou still felt a bit sad and reluctant. He'd poured most of his life's work into it. Dad. Zhou Shuan felt a bit guilty. Silly child, it's not your fault. It's that damned heaven that won't leave people a way to live. Zhou Jianghai had been going to ruffle his daughter's hair, but remembering what Zhong Tian had said, he hesitated and pulled his hand back. Wan, these next few days we also need to find time to clear out the hardware shop stock. Okay. After lunch the family ate together, then went their separate ways. Zhong Tian stayed home taking care of Mumu and also acted as supervisor. Zhou Shuan drove out with her father, planning to sell this gasoline car, and buy a slightly used electric car. Besides the electric car, they also bought 2 second-hand bicycles and a pedal tricycle. Since the family hardware store already had 2 electric trikes of different sizes, they didn't buy more. They also had electric bicycles for everyday travel. What I bought now will be more than enough to rotate through later. Thinking of that, Zhou Shuan also bought 10 more sets of batteries to alternate use in the future. Batteries break down often. When fuel and electricity run low, the vehicles you'll see most on the road will be human-powered carts. Bicycles and pedal tricycles, almost drowned out by history, have once again become the most important means of transportation for people. Zhou Shuan drove the electric car, and Dad Zhou put on a raincoat and rode the tricycle, first loading the bicycle and the pedal tricycle into the carriage. When they reached a remote spot, Zhou Shuan would place them all into the space. They went to the warehouse to fetch several water tanks, put them into the space and drove back to draw water, taking turns filling the tanks and returning them to the warehouse. The filled water tanks were terribly heavy. Even if the warehouse were later occupied by others, nobody could hoist the tanks away. Now that their own home had workers, they could only draw water in the newly purchased house. Zhou Shuan told Dad Zhou to go handle other things. He left the car to her and went off on the electric tricycle. She spent the whole afternoon driving back and forth to fetch water. Halfway through, she suddenly slapped her forehead, thinking how stupid she had been. Half of those tanks were for drinking water, and the rest for household use. There was no need to rely on residents' faucets to fill them drop by drop. It's pouring rain outside now. Just put the water tanks outside the warehouse to collect it. The water isn't contaminated yet. When the drought comes, people won't even have this. There's nothing to complain about. She simply set out 15 20-ton and 5 10-ton large water tanks outside the warehouse, opened the lids, and let the heavy rain pour in. She also brought out 10 inflatable swimming pools, inflated them, and placed them outside to collect water. By the time evening came and we returned, the heating cables had already been installed. Tomorrow, once the floor is laid, the job will be done. He could sleep last night, but today he couldn't. With no room to be together at home, the family simply went to the newly bought house, where there was a ready table. Zhou Shuan avoided Mumu and put out a pot of spicy dry pot mixed fish offal, a dish of braised eggplant, a portion of sauce spare ribs, and a sesame-scented mushy cabbagean especially lavish spread. Mumu's mouth was all greasy. Zhou Shuan also had a big appetite and ate 2 bowls of rice in a row. Zhong Tian smiled affectionately, helping her daughter and little son pick food while saying, slow down, there's so much, it's enough for both of you. Zhou Jianghai chuckled, daughter, give Dad 2 more bottles of beer, Dad will drink it with the ribs. Zhou Shuan couldn't help laughing. I actually forgot to buy those. Apart from the most essential survival supplies, she hadn't even had time to stock up on things like cigarettes, alcohol, drinks and snacks. Besides, cigarettes and alcohol are expensive, so she can't buy much. She's planning to get them later with a zero-cost purchase scheme. Drink less, drinking beer 3 meals a day. Look at that big belly of yours. Keep it up and you'll look like you're 5 months pregnant, Zhong Tian scolded. Zhou Jianghai didn't care, speaking with Zhou Shuan as if consulting her. Daughter, I think we should buy some beer and the like. And bread, all kinds of snacks. I'll go buy more over the next few days. Zhou Shuan nodded. Chapter 21, An alternative use for the space. After dinner, Mumu did her homework and read. Zhou Shuan and her mother went to fetch water together, while Zhou Jianghai read the reference books his daughter had bought about how to install air conditioners and solar equipment. After this, installing the appliances at home became his responsibility, so he had to start learning in advance. Fortunately, he had a foundation, so self-study wasn't too hard. They were busy all night. The 3 faucets together supplied 20 tons of water. After a simple wash, they made the bed with their own bedding, and the family of 4 rested. Around 3 in the morning, Zhou Shuan suddenly heard a noise and snapped awake. Zhou's father, afraid of frightening her, stood by the door at a distance, turned on the light, and said gently, Wan, it's Dad. The wariness in Zhou Shuan's eyes faded, and she whispered, Dad, what's wrong? Come on, let's go out for a bit. Zhou Shuan changed clothes and was about to go out with her father when Zhou Jianghai remembered something and said to her, clear out the stuff in the space. We'll go pick things up later. Zhou Shuan nodded, thought for a moment, went to the 7th floor, brought out the tricycle and bicycles, and also took out several racks holding rice, flour, oil and household supplies. The rain outside still fell hard. A layer of misty rain hung in the space, making it impossible to see anything clearly in any direction. Zhou's father drove out of the city and turned several times on a mountain road Zhou Shuan had never traveled before. After driving for more than an hour, he finally stopped. The road conditions and weather were bad all the way, and Zhou Shuan was quite nervous. They stopped in a remote spot, and Dad Zhou got out with an umbrella. Zhou Shuan followed, looked around, and Dad Zhou suddenly pointed at a place partly hidden by a few large trees. Here. It turned out to be a small Lalamove-style cargo van. He opened the rear door of the car. Dad got in to take a look and came down smiling. Done. Wanwan, you drive our car, I'll drive the truck, we'll go back together. The back of the Hualala truck was packed with a dozen or so large oil drums, roughly 7 or 8 tons of gasoline. Zhou Shuan nodded, repeatedly warning Dad to drive the truck carefully on this mountain road. And with the rain, driving a truck isn't easy. Dad said softly in her ear, after we drive for a while, you'll be able to put them all into your space. Zhou Shuan immediately agreed. They drove along the mountain road for half an hour, and only after confirming there was no one around in the wasteland did Zhou Shuan get into the rear compartment and load the dozen or so large oil drums into the space. Let's go. We've agreed. I'll park the car on XX road in the city, leave the key on the wheel, and someone will come to drive it away. Zhou Shuan admired her father's meticulousness, even more not meeting the other party at all made it even safer. By the time they got back it was already past 5, but they had managed to get the most hard-to-hoard gasoline, so Zhou Shuan and her father were both very excited and felt not the least bit sleepy. Back home, Mrs. Zhong had already gotten up early and was anxiously waiting. Seeing the father and daughter, she hurried over with a towel. Such heavy rain, I'm so glad you two came back safe. My heart's been all over the place. Didn't I tell you to sleep easy? A woman's mind is always fussy, Zhou Jianghai muttered, taking the towel to dry his hair. Zhou Shuan's hair was already soaked. She wiped it hurriedly twice and then told her parents that they had collected 14 oil drums today. Mrs. Zhong's face lit up with surprise. That should be enough, right? Zhou Jianghai pondered. If we conserve from now on, and don't drive, it should be close. If it's not enough, there's nothing we can do. I pleaded and used every connection I had. And only then did I buy 8 tons from a private supplier. At 10,000 yuan per ton, twice the market price, and I added an extra 20,000 as a hardship fee. It wasn't cheap. It's a bit little, but gasoline isn't like other things, you can't buy it in large quantities. Being able to buy 8 tons left Zhou Shuan quite satisfied. There's always a chance to stock up more later. With this we can do a lot. They chatted a bit more, were utterly exhausted, hastily washed up and went back to sleep. The next day Zhou Shu didn't wake up until late morning, and the large-capacity hard drive she bought on Taobao had arrived. She added another task to her list. There would be no internet after the apocalypse. She had to prepare some mental sustenance for the family of 4, especially Mumu with no school after the end of the world. She needed to download some learning materials, so he could self-study when he had time. She used the 2 laptops and a tablet at home to download resources. After lunch, Zhou Shuan drove with her father out to a cannery outside the city, and bought 20,000 jars of canned goods, wholesale fruits, meats, fish, beans, etc., having them sent to a downtown warehouse, costing about 200,000 yuan. She bought 10,000 jars of table sauces wholesale, costing 100,000 yuan. She also ordered a batch of compressed biscuits from a food processing plant, a total of 10,000 jin, costing 150,000 yuan. On the way back to the city, Zhou Shuan saw stretches of vegetable greenhouses, and thought of her mother's constantly longing for soil. If the rain never stopped, by the time of the floods it would be nearly impossible to find a patch of dry, arable soil. She simply had her father stop the car, took out an umbrella, and went into one of the vegetable greenhouses. The soil inside the greenhouse was soaked by the rain, too, but with the shelter it was only damp, a shallow layer. She crouched down and tried to pull up the soil from beneath the plants. Unexpectedly, everything went dark and she almost fell into the mud pit. Wanwan. Fortunately Dad Zhou was right behind her and quickly grabbed her hand. It's okay, Dad. I'll see if I can gather some soil. It will make it easier to plant on our terrace later. Zhou Jianghai looked at her with a face full of concern. Zhou Shuan thought for a moment and felt the space was still too small and her own ability insufficient. So she couldn't extract on a large scale. She then only tried to draw the soil from beneath her palm. It was useful. Like a fine little fountain, soil continuously appeared in the space. Amid her busy activities, Zhou Shuan spread a layer of oilcloth in the space, then pressed her palm in one spot to draw for a while before moving forward to another spot. Zhou Shuan kept going until she had filled the remaining 70 or 80 square meters of the space. Then she stopped. By then several hours had passed, and it was already completely dark. Zhou's father urged her a few times, but seeing her absorbed look he feared disturbing her and didn't dare say more, instead standing by cautiously. Zhou Shuan was sweating all over, breathing fast. Her vision went black in waves, and she felt nauseous. It felt like having just run a 10th sand-meter race. Wan. Dad Zhou called her anxiously. Zhou Shuan gasped, very weakly saying, "I'm fine," her whole body staggering. "You child." Dad Zhou couldn't afford to scold. He scooped his daughter up and put her into the car. There was water in the car, so I first fed her 2 sips, then peeled a chocolate for her to eat. After a long while, Zhou Shuan finally recovered. Chapter 22. The video goes viral. On the drive back, Zhou Jianghai turned the words over in his mind several times before speaking as gently as he could. Wan, you mustn't be so reckless from now on. Supplies are important, but no one is more important than a person, right? If something had happened just now, your mom would have blamed me to death when we got home. Zhou Shuan still looked listless. She forced a smile and said, "Dad, it was my carelessness this time. I'll be more careful in the future. Don't tell Mom about this today, no need to worry her." All right. The man wasn't one for nagging. What needed to be said had been said. Seeing her so wan, Zhou Jianghai turned on the heater and put on a soothing song. Today the floors in the house had all been installed. The workers were very efficient. Zhou Shuan still went with her father to the newly purchased penthouse 5211. The 7th floor terrace here hadn't been enclosed. As a result, more than half of the 7th floor's area was unusable, and by now it was piled up to the brim. Zhou Shuan spread oilcloth in the living room and dumped out the soil. Once the canned food and compressed biscuits are delivered to the storage tomorrow, and the 2nd bedroom bed from 5211 is moved down to their own 7th floor, they'll be able to free up the space again. The next day, Zhou Jianghai went to the warehouse to collect the medicines. He had bought this batch through 2 agents, paying a 100,000 deposit, and agreeing to pay another 200,000 when the goods arrived. Although expensive, the truck was packed full anti-inflammatories, heat-clearing medicines, fever reducers, gastrointestinal treatments, alcohol swabs, and so on. Zhou Shuan had considered all the kinds of medications they might need after the apocalypse, so the purchases were very comprehensive. Zhou Jianghai also spent another 50,000 to buy calcium tablets, vitamins, zinc, iron supplements, and other medicines. He didn't buy the expensive ones, just the kind that come in small bottles for 2 yuan each. They work the same. The 50,000 is enough for the whole family. Fortunately, the hardware store sold them, otherwise the money really wouldn't have been enough. Zhou Jianghai put the medicines in the warehouse. When Zhou Shuan came, he would put them in the space. The medicines might get damp, so they need to be stored quickly. Zhong Tiyun took her son to school, then as usual went to order takeout. Zhou Shuan went to the local toilet paper factory and bought enough toilet paper, sanitary pants, and sanitary pads for her and her mother's lifetimes. There were no tampons available locally, but the manager said that if she wanted to order in bulk, they could help source them and deliver to her door. That was much more convenient than buying them herself. Also, tampons have many uses. In emergencies, they can serve as makeshift bandages to stop bleeding. Zhou Shuan ordered 2,000 boxes of tampons that evening. That item cost 70,000. And together with toilet paper, sanitary pads, and sanitary underwear, she spent a little over 130,000 yuan. Although this expense was large, Zhou Shuan felt that as a woman, never having to worry about her period again for the rest of her life was absolutely worth it. In the final years of the last life's apocalypse, the price of a pack of sanitary pads was comparable to gold. Many people reverted to ancient methods. sewing cloth strips and filling them with wood ash or cotton. Zhou Shuan did the same. Every time those days came, she didn't dare go anywhere, curling up in her little hut, unable even to go out looking for supplies, enduring those days by sheer force of will. So now that she had the chance, of course she stocked up massively. Thanks to Dad Zhou's connections, Zhou Shuan obtained more than 20 prescriptions from a famous old Chinese medicine practitioner, and had them mass-produced into pills, all stored in the space. In addition, she also collected 2 truckloads of mugwort. When Zhong Tiyun and Zhou Jianghai asked her what the mugwort was for, she looked serious and said earnestly, "It's for treating illnesses," but gave no further explanation. Just for Chinese herbal medicine alone, another more than 300,000 yuan was spent. It rained for several days straight, and some places were hit by hail several times. In many areas the wheat lay flat on the ground, so a poor harvest this year was inevitable. And because of the torrential rains, all kinds of melons, fruits, and vegetables were affected, so the prices of rice, flour, vegetables, and fruits quickly rose. Some far-sighted people immediately stockpiled a supply of rice, flour, and vegetables. Second uncle's family lives in the countryside, making a living from vegetable greenhouses, and they truly felt the rapid rise in prices. They had already bought some grain in the days after receiving the call, but later saw that hail had begun falling in some places, so they hurriedly went and bought a few hundred jin of rice and white flour. They were in the countryside, and after harvesting grain they would store some at the grain exchange shop, so there was no need to buy flour outside. They directly exchanged for a few hundred jin at the grain exchange shop. Second uncle also called Zhong Tiyun again to ask if they should exchange some flour for them too. Zujiatan's stockpile of rice and flour was already enough to eat for decades. But considering that second uncle's grain left at the exchange store might never get exchanged again, Zhou Shuan had him exchange 500 jin of plain flour and 500 jin of cornmeal for her. She also had second uncle arrange a hualala delivery to bring it to a warehouse in the city. She planned to put these into the space and later slowly take them out to give to second uncle's family, or trade for other supplies. But at third aunt's place, because of third aunt's husband's stubbornness, they still hadn't stockpiled grain. That evening Zhou Shuan had mom call cousin Tao. Cousin Tao is young, and often scrolls through videos online. On the phone he told Zhong Tiyun, "Third aunt, don't worry. There's a doomsday stockpiling video that's been trending the past few days. It has over 1 million views. I didn't consult my parents either. I've already started preparing supplies following the video." Zhong Tiyun was totally baffled. She had no idea what apocalyptic video this was. Zhou Shuan listened beside her, and knew it was the video made by that Huang Xiaoxia, which had already gone viral online. At the time he said the 2,000 yuan was just a deposit, with the rest to be paid later. But she left in such a hurry afterward that she forgot all about it. Last night she even logged into the account to contact him, but Huang Xiaoxia didn't take it seriously and replied nonchalantly, "Big shot, it's fine, I made quite a bit off those millions of views. There are several brands wanting to collaborate with me." And if she came to him again with fresh, curious ideas, he'd charge a friend San family price. Zhou Shuan smiled, logged out of the account, and left the internet cafe. Zhong Tiyun was still reminding cousin Tao, "Don't skimp buy enough rice, flour and dry goods first. And medicines, alcohol, stuff like that you need to stock up." Cousin Tao nodded, but since his father refused to move, there was nothing the whole family could do. School was also suspended the day before yesterday, so Mumu is taking online classes at home. Zhou Shuan thought for a moment, then said, "The apocalypse is clearly happening earlier now. Even I can't say exactly when their building will collapse, but judging by the time in the dream, there will be at least 1 or 2 months before the tsunami arrives. Mom, don't worry. The situation will only get more severe. When the heavy rains don't stop and the floods rise, you can try persuading them again." Chapter 23 Neighbor Brother. Zhong Tiyun sighed. Early that morning, Zhou Shuan braved the rain to go with Dad Zhou to buy a motorized dinghy and an inflatable boat. Over the next 2 years, the entire mainland would be flooded. Boats were the most important means of transportation. Online shopping was too slow at a time like this. Fortunately, Dad Zhou had done some research online and found a specialty store. There were both assault boats and inflatable dinghies, The stock wasn't large, and he didn't fuss over choices, so he settled on a high-quality chromoly assault boat and 2 inflatables. It cost 80,000 in total. He gave the warehouse address and asked them to deliver it to his home tomorrow. As he was about to drive away, Zhou Shuan saw a tall, long-limbed young man step down from a nearby car. She walked with a brisk, light step, yet gave the impression of solid footing, and strode straight into the shop. Because of the umbrella, her face couldn't be seen clearly, but that silhouette looked somewhat familiar. Zhou Shuan pondered. On her way back, she suddenly realized wasn't that the Special Forces soldier who had warned her to go home and stock up? Could he also be from this city? Was he also going to buy an inflatable boat? By evening she knew the answer. At dusk, she was returning from the warehouse when she heard her mother in the stairwell talking to someone, her tone full of amazement. Grandma Pang, I didn't expect little you, who we haven't seen in so many years, to have grown up so much. TSK. Look at his height and bearing, no wonder he came back from the army. Grandma Pang laughed along. Xiaoyu served in the military for a few years. Worried I would be alone with no one to look after me, he retired and came to live with me. How filial. Zhou Shuan found it strange, went up to the 3rd floor and called out once, Mom. The young figure standing in front of Mrs. Zhong turned around. His calm, restrained expression showed slight surprise when he saw her, then recognition dawned. Zhou Shuan was also very surprised this young man turned out to be that Special Forces soldier. He's from the north. Could he actually be Grandma Pang's grandson? Little Yuga? Grandma Pang lives on the 5th floor, just below the Zhous, and the 2 families have always been close. Zhou Shuan often heard her mother muttering that Grandma Pang led a hard life. Her husband died early, and she raised their son alone. She later married a beautiful daughter-in-law and had a grandson, Little Yu. But unexpectedly, Little Yu's father went into business, made money, and then became frivolous, taking several mistresses. Little Yu's mother had a strong temper. When she found out, she made a scene and resolutely divorced him. Moving down south, she never came back. People said she was beautiful and soon remarried there to a well-off man. And she had more children. Xiaoyu's father also picked one of his mistresses to marry, bought a big villa in the provincial capital, and brought Xiaoyu to live with them. But as the saying goes, where there is a stepmother there will be a stepfather. At first the stepmother put on a show of caring for Xiaoyu, but after she had her own son, she began to take every opportunity to look down on him. Xiaoyu's family was that rich, yet he himself was as thin as a skeleton from hunger. Grandmother Pang and that daughter-in-law didn't get along. Unwilling to be bullied in the villa, she went back to live alone in the old neighborhood. Seeing his grandson was often abused by his stepmother over there, and his father did nothing, he took the grandson back to raise him himself. Thus, Little Yu grew up in the old neighborhood until his teens before going to the provincial capital to study, and later he enlisted. He was 6 or 7 years older than Zhou Shuan. When he left the neighborhood, Zhou Shuan was only 8 or 9, and had long since forgotten what the neighbor brother from downstairs looked like. She herself had changed a lot as well, so when they met in S-City, neither of them recognized the other. At that moment, Zhong Tian waved and motioned for Zhou Shuan to come over. Wanwan, this is your little Yuga, remember him? When you were little you used to follow him around all the time. Zhou Shuan's face flushed red in an instant. In her memories, little Yuga was a very handsome big brother. When she was little she was self-conscious about the birthmark on her face, and didn't like going out to play. But because her family was close to Grandma Pang's, and when her parents were busy with their business and couldn't take care of her, she would eat at Grandma Pang's house, which is how she became familiar with little Yuga and especially liked trailing after him to play. Mom, she called, sounding a little embarrassed. Grandma Pang laughed. Xiaoyu, this is Wanwan. You haven't been back in years, you remember her, don't you? Qi Mingyu hadn't expected the college student he ran into by chance to be the neighbor girl from upstairs, the one who used to pester him for snacks when they were kids. After a brief moment of surprise he smiled slightly. This is Wanwan, huh? She's all grown up. If she were out on the street I wouldn't have recognized her. He stood like a pine, broad-shouldered and wide-backed, strikingly handsome, radiating an aura of unyielding strength and power. Zhou Shuan glanced at him once, then looked away. Isn't it true? Girls change so much as they grow up. Wanwan is getting more and more beautiful, Grandma Pang said as she asked. Did Wanwan have that birthmark on her face removed by surgery? Removing it really turned her into a beautiful daughter. These past few days since returning, when running into neighbors in the compound, everyone was curious about the birthmark on Zhou Shuan's face. In response, Zhong Tiyun's standard line was, "Kids being mischievous, she didn't even tell me or her dad. She went abroad by herself to have surgery. Now the child is grown and has her own ideas. It's fine to remove it once it's gone, she'll be so pretty." Grandmother Pang affectionately patted Zhou Shuan's shoulder, then, with her grandson's support, went downstairs. She was now in her 60s. Because she had worked hard when she was young, she looked a bit aged. Hair all white, face full of wrinkles, back slightly hunched. But she was still very spirited. Zhou Shuan and her mother hurried them to the side. And Zhong Tiyun still smiled and said, "Granny Pang, shall you come by the house sometime?" All right," Granny Pang replied. Qi Mingyu nodded, looking taciturn and steady, saying very little. Only when he left did he give Zhou Shuan a meaningful glance. On this side, Zhong Tiyun and his daughter went upstairs, exclaiming, "Joining the military really changes a person. When Xiaoyu was little he was good-looking, but always thin, fragile. Now after being tempered in the army he's much more handsome, and he looks steadier and more solid." Zhou Shuan said nothing. Mrs. Zhong went to the supermarket to shop, carrying 2 heavy bags and a jug of oil. Zhou Shu received it earlier in the evening. Thinking back to her previous life, did that special forces guy Xiaoyu come back? After thinking it over, she felt probably not. Back then her parents would contact her, and occasionally mention the situations of neighbors and acquaintances in the neighborhood. Grandma Pang's son and daughter-in-law both lived in the provincial capital. She lived alone on the 5th floor. Every time she went out to buy supplies she couldn't carry them up the stairs. And Father Zhou had helped her a few times when he saw her. Later a gang of bad people from the neighborhood came to seize supplies, and they not only drove out Mother Zhong and Mumu. In that building they also drove out the weaker residents. Only those families with many able-bodied adults escaped the disaster. When Zhou Shu returned in the next life to collect the corpse, she also heard that Grandma Pang had been driven out and died shortly thereafter. So, it's certain that Qi Mingyu did not come back in the previous life. Chapter 24 Conversation. Why is this life different? Could it be that in his previous life he didn't get the inside information, but in this life he did? Is that why he was discharged and returned to his hometown? Zhou Shuan hesitated for a moment, and did not tell her mother that Qi Mingyu was that special forces soldier. Moreover, she glanced at the neighboring house right next to theirs, 3112, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The family at 3112 has the surname Dong. They were running a business away from home for years, and after buying a villa they moved out. But the head of the household, Dong Jianhua, was a very far-sighted man. Not long after the floods, he decisively returned with his wife and children to live there. At first, he could still put on a hypocritical face, actively taking part in neighborhood and floor affairs, winning a lot of benefits for Building 3, especially when many disaster victims were being settled in the complex. But after he was chosen as building chief, his true colors gradually showed, favoring some and oppressing others, bullying the weak, and extorting supplies. Later, when the government suffered heavy losses and many staff and soldiers died in the disaster, order collapsed completely. Dong Jianhua no longer held back. He summoned the gang of thugs he used in business, and first robbed the building where he himself lived. They seized supplies, drove away the weak, coerced and bribed able-bodied men to submit, and finally, after gripping the whole building in their hands, they expanded their power block by block. When Zhou Shuan returned in her previous life, nearly half the residential compound was already within their domain. Zhou Shuan didn't know how much effort it took to kill the entire Dong family. In this life, Zhou Shuan did nothing when faced with the vicious neighbor. She just waited quietly for him to come back. When he returns, it will be his death day. After the Zhou family's house was reduced by another 100,000, it finally sold. 1.1 million arrived the same day. In the past few days, the money the Zhou family had on hand has already been spent. As soon as the money arrived, Dad Zhou rented another secluded warehouse located on high ground in the north. Then he bought 200 tons of coal and honeycomb briquettes, having the supplier deliver them straight to the warehouse. This single expense came to 250,000 yuan. Zhou Shuan had bought too little. If an extreme cold spell lasted for years, the whole family would freeze. So the family discussed it and rented another warehouse farther away. Since it only stored coal and planting soil, they weren't worried about theft. Over the last 2 days the rain kept getting heavier. As if the sky had a hole, the torrential rain poured down like someone tipping a bucket, and low-lying areas were already starting to flood. Therefore, home delivery now required an extra service fee. Zhou's father didn't care much. He only urged them to deliver it as quickly as possible. Zhou Shuan also took the opportunity to run up to higher ground and dug up several more batches of 70 to 80 square meters of soil, and together with the top floor soil sent them to the warehouse in separate loads. She also thought that if she wanted to plant in the future, how could she do without fertilizer? So she bought 2 truckloads of urea, compound fertilizer, and the like, as well as wheat seed and corn seed, buying 1,000 jin of each and had them all delivered to the warehouse. The warehouse Dad rented this time had a tap inside, so he had his daughter move several large-capacity water tanks into the warehouse. Stationed one side of the warehouse to collect water, while waiting for the deliveries. By the time Zhou Shuan returned that night, dusty and weary, she was soaking wet all over. She parked the little tricycle in the shed, took off her raincoat as she went upstairs, and wrung the water from her hair. Then she ran into Qi Mingyu, who had also just come back from outside. He was wearing a camouflage uniform, black leather boots on his feet, his shirt tucked entirely into his pants, a belt cinching his waist, which made his broad shoulders and long legs look even more pronounced, and his figure tall and lean. His hair was slightly damp too, but probably from driving. He wasn't as bedraggled as Zhou Shuan. Only the tip was damp, pressed against her high, smooth forehead, which somehow took away her usual sternness and added a touch of handsomeness. They looked at each other for a moment. Qi Mingyu scanned her up and down, slightly frowning. "Why didn't you drive when you went out? The weather today was like a hole had been made in it. Without a car it was practically impossible to go out." The last time he saw her, she was already bold enough to drive onto the highway. Zhou Shuan smiled. "My dad went to the suburbs, it's far, so I had him drive." Qi Mingyu hesitated for a moment, then tilted his head toward the carport. "Can we step aside to talk?" Zhou Shuan didn't refuse and followed him to the carport in front of Building 3. She was only wearing a raincoat. Qi Mingyu very gentlemanly shifted the umbrella a bit toward her. Zhou Shuan noticed that one side of his body was soaked by the rain, but his expression was calm, his eyes looking ahead, as if he felt nothing at all. Fortunately, the road wasn't long, and they arrived quickly. Qi Mingyu closed his umbrella and looked down at her. "I've run into Aunt Zhong a few times these past days. She's been shopping at the supermarket. Many people in the neighborhood, like before when they stockpiled salt and medicine, had already started hoarding supplies. Vegetables and fruits were bought the most, followed by rice, flour, grains, and oil. Zhong Tiyun followed the crowd too. She fetched water at home, looked after Mumu, and then went shopping at the supermarket. She didn't hide it from Annie. If asked, she'd say it openly. This was to prepare in advance for a steady supply of goods for her family later on." Zhou Shuan nodded, a little shaken, and said yes. "I haven't thanked you yet, brother you. Fortunately you persuaded me back then, and I took leave to go home. The news now says many places in the south are already flooded." Qi Mingyu smiled faintly. "No need to thank me. If I'd recognized you, I would have brought you back with me all the way." That said, Zhou Shuan had already been home for over 10 days. He had come back a full week later than her, so he must have been stocking up on supplies along the way. But how much did he actually know about the inside story? "Brother you, I have to tell you this too. You warned me the weather's been bad lately, so I searched online and found that it would be raining heavily for half a month. I had my parents stock up on food and drink. They should have been bought earlier anyway. I was afraid my parents would think I'm flighty and useless, so I used your name, saying you advised me that we might face extreme weather in the future, and should stock up on supplies." Qi Mingyu raised an eyebrow. From that meeting he already knew she was unusually composed and mature for a college student, but he hadn't expected that from just a few words of his she could deduce so much. But don't worry, I didn't tell my parents that the Special Forces soldier who warned me was you. My parents trust the military a lot. So they immediately started stockpiling supplies, and they also told several relatives to prepare in advance. I wonder, will this cause you any trouble? Her last sentence was somewhat stammering, as if she were very embarrassed. Qi Ming glanced at her coldly, and shook his head slightly. There's been a lot of hearsay lately. The internet is full of articles and video accounts about natural disasters and the end of the world. Many people have begun to stockpile supplies, and with the chaos of the past few days, the government will probably issue purchase limits, forbidding people from looting. So you should take the opportunity to hoard more. He didn't name himself, which made it just rumor and not much to do with him. Okay. Xiao Yuga, don't worry, I will never say what shouldn't be said. She volunteered. So clever. Measured in her actions, she was really not the little girl who used to wear small braids and cry when bullied. Qi Mingyu suddenly raised his hand and ruffled her hair, a smile appearing on his sharply defined face. Kid, don't overthink it. He showed a bit of big brother affection toward the neighbor girl. Chapter 25, Installing the Security Door. Zhou Shuan widened her eyes. Since some very unpleasant things had happened in her past life, she extremely disliked others touching her. But the other person only rubbed gently and withdrew their hand. She hadn't even had time to react. Wan, did you also buy an inflatable boat? That day I saw your car. Zhou Shuan hadn't reacted yet, and Mumu nodded. She was naturally very pretty, fair skin, a delicately small chin, large, rounded apricot-shaped eyes. In Mumu's dazed state, she looked utterly adorable. Qi Mingyu looked away, lowering his voice. I saw an interesting video online about apocalyptic disasters. You and your parents should study it more. Zhou Shuan suddenly widened her eyes. But Qi Mingyu didn't explain further. He only gave a slight nod, his eyes holding a deeper meaning. That was the limit of what he could hint at. Zhou Shuan suddenly realized he had stopped her not to tell her to keep it secret, but to remind her that floods weren't the only disaster in the apocalypse. Was it because he had been a soldier that he could be so open and selfless? But Zhou Shuan was just an ordinary small-town person. At heart, she only cared about the interests of her own family, and she neither had the strength nor the willingness to extend that open-handed selflessness to others. She suddenly grew curious. In her memory, Xiao Yuga's grades had always been excellent, near the top. Grandma Pang, afraid of disrupting his studies, had discussed it with him for a long time before getting him to agree to attend high school in the provincial capital. But in his second year of high school, for reasons unknown, he gave up his studies and enlisted in the military. Grandma Pang had even gone to the provincial capital to plead with him in person, but in the end she returned disappointed. What is it? Qi Mingyu saw her curiosity and tilted his head slightly. It's nothing. Zhou Shuan quickly shook her head, forcing the chaotic thoughts out of her mind. Whatever his reasons for dropping out, and enlisting had nothing to do with her. Moreover, thinking about life after the apocalypse, his decision to give up his studies and join the military might actually have been very wise. After the apocalypse, those who had served were the physically toughest people, skilled with all kinds of weapons, strong at wilderness survival, and more likely to stay alive. With that in mind, Zhou Shuan lowered her voice and said, Xiao Yuga, could you help get a few weapons? Qi Mingyu lifted his eyelids and gave her a sharp look. Zhou Shuan said calmly, I watched the doomsday videos you mentioned. They also suggested preparing some weapons for self-defense. It's just that we're ordinary civilians and don't know where to buy them. That made sense. If the future apocalypse really turned out like that person said, weapons would be indispensable. Qi Mingyu thought for a moment. Wait a few days and I'll let you know. That meant he had agreed. Zhou Shuan's eyes immediately lit up. It seemed that having a special forces soldier living downstairs in the building wasn't so bad after all. She smiled somewhat obsequiously, flashing 2 rows of white teeth. Then thank you, Brother Xiaoyu. Qi Mingyu gave a faint hm and opened his umbrella. Let's go. He saw Zhou Shuan to the stairwell. Zhou Shuan concealed Qi Mingyu's presence and told her family what she'd learned, and even Mumu went out to buy things. Food, drink, and household items when buying. Zhong Tianyan deliberately chose things her family hadn't stocked, like bath towels, soap, steel wool pads, instant noodles, and also snacks and drinks that Mumu liked. Thinking her son was still young and might never get to eat these again, she bought them particularly generously. Zhou Shuan also deliberately made a trip out of town to a snack wholesale market and bought a truckload of sunflower seeds, candies, chocolates, biscuits, and all kinds of snacks plus various drinks. Realizing she had only bought compressed biscuits as ready-to-eat food, she also bought batches of instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice, and canned treasure porridge, all in all spending just over 200,000. After thinking it over, she also bought a batch of the commonly seen hot pot seasonings on the market, both spicy and non-spicy, a total of 1,000 packs, costing more than 20,000. She had originally planned to get them for free, but after the apocalypse floods began, lower floor residents were relocated and food was rationed. Most shop owners could see the importance of food and would prioritize moving food from their supermarkets or factories. It was rare to find someone who just left things alone. So the kind of scenes in those apocalypse novels where the protagonist group can freely acquire food for zero cost are very unlikely to occur in real life. Of course, that doesn't rule out some special circumstances. It's just that many packages have been soaked by the flood and are water damaged, so they can no longer be eaten. Zhou Shuan naturally stocked up on food more when she had the spare capacity. Snacks and drinks became extremely rare in the later stages of the apocalypse. They could also be used for trade, particularly high-energy foods like chocolate and candy, which can quickly restore strength, were very popular on the market. After thinking it over, Zhou Shuan saw it was still early and, braving the rain, went to a wholesale supplier of cake baking ingredients to buy a batch of high-calorie items. Butter, fresh cream, cheese slices, grated cheese, and so on. These were most vulnerable to high heat and water. Basically, once the power went out, they would spoil. This purchase cost over 50,000 in total. On the way back, she noticed the renovation workers replacing the front door. Recalling experiences from her previous life, the Zhou family decided to install 2 security doors in the house, and also bought an extra large iron door to be installed at the stairwell entrance later if order broke down, providing multiple layers of protection. Grandma Peng downstairs and the other neighbors heard the clanging, and specifically came up to take a look. Zhong Tiyun naturally avoided the crux. The door broke a few days ago, and Wanwan's father thought they'd been living in this house for over 10 years, so he just replaced the door. No wonder I heard you all making a racket a few days ago. Like you were doing renovations? A loud-voiced aunt from downstairs asked. It's not really renovations. The radiators weren't warm in winter, so we decided to switch to underfloor heating. TSK, that will cost a lot of money, and it's such a hassle. This auntie was very curious and kept asking, didn't you buy a house in the new neighborhood? Why are you still doing renovations here? We've gotten used to living here, can't bear to move. I've lived here for over 20 years, I'm attached to it. Grandma Peng replied. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her son made a lot of money in business, and could even afford a villa in the provincial capital. The person who had spoken earlier just curled her lip and fell silent. Zhong Tiyun smiled and said, that house is for Mumu. When he grows up, we'll go live there. Grandma Peng spoke up too. The weather's been bad, the rain won't stop. When Xiaoyu came back he said our house is too old and needs some repairs. Does the building on your 7th floor leak now? That last sentence was directed at Zhong Tiyun. Zhong Tiyun and Zhou Shuan exchanged a glance and smiled. Not leaking for the moment. We had some renovation before and fixed up the top floor again, so it should hold for a few more years. That's good. With the rain never stopping. I'm just afraid of water seeping into the house, Grandma Peng said. Our Xiaoyu also wants to renovate, but with so many houses leaking these days, the contractors are swamped and can't take more orders. Zhou Shuan understood inwardly. Qi Mingyu was also planning to renovate the house, but he came back a little late and couldn't book the contractors. Chapter 26 Flooding begins. The Zhou family runs a hardware store, and often deals with renovation and electric heating companies. Quid pro quo. When Zhou's father came back, Zhou Shuan had him contact a few foremen, and sure enough he found several available workers. Together they made up a renovation crew. Zhou's father was used to doing business and had a good sense of timing. Not to mention other things, just the fact that Xiaoyu had been in the military meant he could be useful later. If you don't cultivate good relations now, when will you? Therefore, that evening he personally went down to Grandma Pang's downstairs and gave Qi Mingyu the contact information for several people. Grandma Pang was very grateful. Holding Zhou Jianghai's hand and talking non-stop. Before they left, she wrapped up 2 packs of the specialty that Xiaoyu had specially brought back from the south, asking him to take them home for the 2 children. Uncle Zhou couldn't refuse. He accepted them one after another with a smile. Our Wanwan is getting older, but she's still as greedy for food as when she was little. Mumu is even worse at the age when no amount of food is ever enough. Being able to eat is a blessing, Grandma Pang said cheerfully. Qi Mingyu thought back to the chubby little Wanwan from his childhood, and couldn't help but smile faintly. He moved with the same decisiveness. Having found the workers, he brought back the tempered glass, electrical equipment, and other items that had been stored elsewhere, and began the renovation. He knew far more of the inside story than Zhou Shuan imagined. So in addition to installing the tempered glass, he moved the furniture out, lifted the floorboards, and installed underfloor heating. Several times when Zhou Shuan passed his house, she heard the bustling sounds of renovation coming from inside. She went out every day to stockpile supplies, buying all the textbooks, planting guides, animal husbandry books, and medical manuals Mumu might need in the future, and she downloaded many encyclopedias and wilderness survival videos. Considering that she might need to go out during floods with no money to spend, she also bought several expensive wetsuits and small oxygen tanks, as well as an ice maker for extreme heat and ice skates and skis for extreme cold, altogether spending over 100,000. Wait until evening to go to the warehouse and pour the filled water tanks into storage, then move out a few empty ones. On the way back, pick up the 2,000 takeout orders my mom has every day. Since I returned, my mom has been ordering takeout from different shops every day. From breakfast baozi and porridge to lunchtime noodles, dumplings, stir-fries, everything you can think of. For over half a month, 2,000 to 3,000 orders a day. Just on takeout alone we've spent more than 200,000. This time I came back, I just ran into Qi Mingyu stepping out the door. Zhou Shuan had just finished picking up the takeout. The faint savory scent of the food lingered on her, and even the torrential rain outside couldn't wash it away. Of course, it might also be that Captain Qi, who had served as a Special Forces soldier, had an overly sensitive nose. He immediately thought of Zhou's father's remark about being a glutton, and a hint of amusement flashed through his deep eyes. Zhou Shuan greeted him properly. Little Yuga, are you going out? Looking at his very upright posture, it was hard to tell exactly where he was headed. But she thought the same as her dad. There was a battle-hardened Special Forces soldier living downstairs. So of course they should get closer. How's the home renovation coming along? Qi Mingyu nodded. It'll be finished once I wrap up tomorrow. I'm going out for a bit. Did you come back after eating? Zhou Shuan hadn't yet shaken her head when the other person continued, then come with me. The stuff has arrived. The stuff? Zhou Shuan's eyes lit up. This was the weapon she'd been waiting for. She couldn't even bother about whether to eat. She hurriedly nodded okay. Then she turned and followed him downstairs. The vehicle Qi Mingyu drove was a hybrid gas-electric SUV, with a high chassis and what looked like modifications to the front and rear, making it look particularly sturdy. The roof even had space for a tent and off-road equipment. Zhou Shuan glanced twice, and when she got into the car she found it had its own unique character inside. Seeing her curious look, Qi Mingyu said casually, "A few of us in the squad have modified our vehicles." Zhou Shuan nodded thoughtfully. Qi Mingyu gave her a casual look, then returned his gaze forward. Wanwan, since when did you become interested in wilderness survival? Zhou Shuan said without changing expression. Just the 1 year in college. Oh, I see. Your first aid knowledge is very solid. A faint compliment. Zhou Shuan showed a shy smile, but inwardly she was relieved. When she realized that the Special Forces soldier was Xiaoyuga, she immediately thought of her actions in the tunnel, and had already prepared a suitable excuse. No one in J City knew about her time at university. Likewise, Qi Mingyu had returned to J City and after the apocalypse, couldn't go to S City to investigate her actions. Qi Mingyu stared at her smile, a gut feeling telling him something was off. He had joined the military as a teenager, and due to outstanding performance, was selected for special training within 2 years. Over the years he had taken part in hundreds of missions of various scales, met all kinds of people, and interrogated countless vicious criminals. So he was very good at sizing people up. The last time they met he didn't know Wanwan's identity, but he was pleasantly surprised by her calmness and composure in the face of danger. He couldn't bear the thought of her being separated from her family in the apocalypse, which was why he had offered her a few pieces of advice. But now that he knew she was the sister living upstairs, he was puzzled where her first aid knowledge had come from. He asked his grandmother about her, and hadn't heard that she liked outdoor survival games, or had learned first aid. However, he didn't probe further. A harmless omission was just a little curious. Their neighborhood is in the north of the city. As they were driving toward the south, Zhou Shuwan uttered a low sound. Qi Mingyu looked out as well. On the lower Liang roads, water had already pooled to about calf height, and farther toward the underpass the water had risen to the level of the bridge deck, completely impassable for vehicles. He tightened his gaze, but relying on his excellent driving skills, he left the crowd congested by the flooded underpass and chose another route. These days, someone has been in charge of pumping water from the underpass. It seems they've finally reached the point where pumping can't keep up. Zhou Shuan looked out anxiously. Even taking a different route, this area still had a lot of standing water. Many underground shops were organizing people in raincoats to move goods. But the rain was still pouring down like a bucket being emptied. Qi Mingyu parked the car on the hillside and took Zhou Shuan to a rather dilapidated, narrow, inconspicuous warehouse rental place. He walked up as if familiar with it, entered the code, opened the warehouse door, and inside were 6 bulging large black bags. Qi Mingyu opened each one to look, nodded in satisfaction, and directly hoisted 2 big bags into the car. Seeing him carry them so easily, Zhou Shuan also eagerly picked up a bag, but it was so heavy she almost slipped and strained her back. She swung her arms and only just managed to stay standing, looking rather embarrassed. Qi Mingyu almost wanted to laugh. It's heavy. Leave it there, I'll carry it. Zhou Shuan gave a light cough, inwardly annoyed. She had thought that with the skills and strength trained in her past life she'd be fine, but compared to a real special forces soldier, she was still far off. After loading the 6 large packs onto the vehicle, Qi Mingyu finally opened them one by one for Zhou Shuan to see.